racing again. Welcome to the Giro d'Italia. After the rest day, the 10th stage of the great race, 167 kilometers. Destination Altopiano del Montasio. And 2 dreadful climbs to be dealt with. A rude awakening then for everybody. The mountains beckon, we have some sunshine. Let's hope those rain clouds don't roll in and dampen proceedings once again. So, Altopiano del Montasio is where we are. And let's just see what they're facing today, shall we? It's going to be brutal for some, that's for sure. 167 kilometers. This is the route that they're going to be taking, winding its way all the way to that Altopiano del Montasio where we are at the finish line. Well, it doesn't look too bad, and when you look at 167 kilometers, you think, yeah, well, maybe it's a gentle reintroduction to racing on the Giro, and then you see this. Well, it's going to be the graph of doom for many. There we are. First, the Passo Casson di Lanza, and then a huge downhill section before we climb to Altopiano del Montasio. 16% they say, but I've got to tell you, some of those ramps that they're dealing with, well over 20%, and prisoners will be taken today, that is for sure. Well, it's a wonderful route. They decided to dedicate it to Twitter fans, and in fact, their messages painted onto the tarmac of the final climb today. So, maybe if you are lucky enough, your words are here. The Giro has so many fans, and it's a way of recognising their efforts and indeed their communications. Whether the riders will have time to read the messages along the way is another thing. So, Altopiano del Montasio it is, and they have already rolled out this morning, I've got to tell you. Yes, Cordenons, our starting point. Yet another region of Italy, partly cloudy with a chance of rain. Temperatures around about 10 Celsius, but the cloud is starting to roll in. We believe it's going to be bathed in sunshine today, and what a nice thing to be able to say. It's an area built on dairy farming and indeed cheese, and polenta is to the fore. Mountain biking, of course, very much part of the summer in this part of the world. Cross-country skiing and alpine skiing, of course, on the tri-borders of Slovenia, Austria and Italy. Yeah, so when it melts, as you can see, waterfalls. So a lovely place to be, mountain air, some glorious scenery and some serious cycling. Well, who knows? Mountain bikers may well come to the fore today. Certainly Ryder Hesjedal has got time to make up after kind of stalling, I think you might say. Well, he's got a couple of riders in the break in the form of Thomas Dekker and David Miller. Whether they'll be able to help him out, I do not know, because the climbs today are so severe. It may well be that he just has to help himself if he possibly can. So it's a day when the Giro may well be lost. Possibly not won today, but we say this quite often, Daniel Lloyd, when we come into the high mountains, and we've got them today.
We have indeed. These are by far the biggest mountains that these riders have faced at this year's Giro d'Italia so far.
Well, they rolled out from Cordenons today. A lot of fighting in this part of the world during the Second World War, and yes, not overly brutalised, you'll be pleased to know. Glorious start then. Some riders cope better than others when it comes to rest days, and it's a rude awakening, really. The trophy they're all battling for on display, as were all of the jerseys. Well, you saw in the white jersey there, Kelderman has done a great job. Will he continue to march up the mountains? We'll see. Pirazzi is in the blue jersey after that spectacular battle with Chalaput. Cadel Evans leads the points ranking. He's only 3 points ahead of Mark Cavendish, who is certain to suffer a little bit today. You just saw Bradley Wiggins as well. And the press all talking about whether Wiggins' challenge is indeed over. There is Cadel. Nibali, of course, is in the pink. And when he signs on, the balloons get going and sometimes just get in the way. He's a quiet, shy man. Well, he's having to carry the weight and the expectations of a nation, as we mentioned, upon his shoulders. So the rollout. Pirazzi in that blue jersey after that spectacular battle with the Colombian Chalaput. Cadel looking pensive. He is a former mountain biker, don't forget. Likewise, Ryder Ejderdahl. So you never know who might go for it. Well, plenty did right at the very beginning. In fact, Androni were in the early breaks with Ameti and Fellini, along with Martens. One non-starter, or who pulled out today, Quintero. Well, finally, we did have a break that settled down, and it was quite a sizable one. 13 riders, Vicioso and Degenkolb, on their way home, not starting today. So pace extraordinarily high, over 42 kilometres an hour, or nudging that at the beginning. And the break finally settled. 13 riders. The best placed of them, nothing of a threat to the overall, I've got to tell you. Mercado, 15 minutes and 26 seconds down. All the rest, many of them, over an hour off the pace. So, time to chase on for Astana. Oh, Nibali's going to have to do his stuff today, and they will be working for him, that is for sure. And none of their riders, of course, in the break. Rolling repairs, a feature of this, and Rob Roych, indeed one of those who suffered. Quick bike change for Nibali. So you join us live images. We have 13 riders in the break, and these are they. Garmin Sharp, represented by Thomas Decker and David Miller. Androni Giocattoli, Venezuela. I've got Yaxo Rodriguez. Jackson is up there. So is Cialinghi, Martin Cialinghi. We have Elia Viviani of Cannondale, Cialinghi, of course, of Blanco, I beg your pardon. Katusha also represented here with Pavel Brut, who is a brute when it comes to things like this, a great escapee. Kelly De Haas is here from Lotto Belisol, and so is Omega Farmers' Serge Powells. We have two riders from Radio Shack Leopard here. It's Thiago Mercado, and we also have Jaroslav Popovic, so Machado and Popovic here. As well as Daniele Benatti from Team Saxo Tinkoff, who we saw at the top of the programme. Pim Lichtart of Vacon Soleil also involved. And Vini Fantini are here with Oscar Gatto, possibly working for Sant'Ambrogio. But it's going to be one pace by the time we get to the main business of the day. A climb, I've got to tell you, that Daniel Lloyd has actually performed himself only a couple of weeks ago in preview to the great race. So 7 minutes and 50 is the gap. That's going to hold station for just a little while. So Dan, time then for us to chat about just exactly what they're facing today.
Yeah, two very, very big climbs in order for them today. Not the biggest that they're going to face in the Giro, but as I mentioned at the start of the programme, certainly the biggest ones that they've faced so far. It's not actually too far before they hit the foot of the first one. They're both first category climbs. First one's called the Passo Casson di Lanza. Goes up in two parts. So we've got two very steep sections split up by a downhill in the middle. The total length of the first climb, 14.5 kilometres. But as I said, there's a couple of kilometres in the middle of respite before the real fun begins at the end, because they're going to hit gradients of 16%, and in fact it's quite steep the entire way up that climb. From there they descend down. It's quite a long descent, technical at the start, narrow as well, and quite slippery when I came down it, but the weather conditions somewhat different today to when I faced it a couple of weeks ago. And then they hit the last climb of the day, the Alto Piano del Montasio. And what a brute that is. The last 4 kilometres, so steep, so narrow, that the team buses are having to park at the bottom, and the rider's going to face gradients of 20% according to the profile. But I had a feeling when I was on it, looking at my Garmin, it was even more than that. It really is excruciating coming up here towards the finish, and we're in for a fantastic race today.
Well, this is what Dan's talking about. The 10th stage. Let's find out where we are, shall we, after just over 2 hours and 5 minutes in the saddle. And the business end of the day does beckon. Kadarcis is where we are heading for. It's a little preamble, if you like. We have a downhill section as well, a couple of them on this climb. Polaro will head down into, that'll be in around about 10 kilometers time. So they've got this double ramp, and then that goes down, and then you have another severe ramp after the first sprint today. They've had their feed, and as you can see, they are still spinning it up. Dave Miller looking nice and fresh today, I've got to say.
Yeah, he's looking in much better form than we saw him for the majority of the first week. He did start to look a lot better a couple of days ago on Sunday before the rest day. He was driving things on the front. Ultimately, it obviously didn't work out for the Garmin Sharp team because Ryder Hesjedal's legs fell off slightly towards the end and he lost a small chunk of time. Not too bad, but certainly not what they would have wanted coming into that. But yeah, two riders in the break. Are they here to try and win the stage, or are they here to try and help Hesjedal towards the end? That's the question that we'll have answered in an hour and a half or so's time. The gap at the moment, as you said, 7.5 minutes. They're definitely on the lower slopes now, but not on the main climb proper. They've got to go through the intermediate sprint first. I think Viviani is almost a guarantee to go through that sprint first, and best known as a sprinter. He's sat third overall in that points competition at the moment, behind Cadel Evans and Mark Cavendish. He's going to move to within a point of Mark Cavendish if he wins that first sprint of the day, which comes in Palaro, which is the foot of the Passo di Lanzo.
Now, that's a great benchmark to have hit, and when the motorcycle comes by with a chalkboard and highlights that, then it spurs them on, and they're going to need spurring on, Dan, because we're at a crucial part of the day.
Yeah, just over 1 kilometre's time we've got the intermediate sprint. Not crucial for too many people in the front, except for Viviani, who since the very first day seems to be set on getting as many points as possible towards that red jersey competition. He seems particularly motivated to try and take that. In fact, he said in the press that he finds seems so impossible to beat Mark Cavendish. And Lipgart goes from Backhand Soleil, former Dutch champion. He's tried to spring a surprise. He's also up there on the actual intermediate sprints competitions themselves. So there's two different competitions. There's one for the intermediate sprints, there's one for the overall points.
Well, it's Viviani and Lichtart, as well as Gatto, I think, that are involved
Bernati.
here. I beg your pardon, Bernati it is that's going to go for this too. Why not? Viviani's certainly there, and it looks like he's got the power to deliver, has he? Went too early, did he? Running out of time right now. Viviani's going to chase on for this by the looks of things. Clean and efficient by the Cannondale rider in the green. Comes into the correct zone right now and takes it.
Looked like a bit of collusion to me between Bernati and Viviani in order to get across to Lichtart. As I said, intermediate sprints competition is separate to the overall points competition, but funnily enough, the intermediate sprint points also count towards that overall. A little bit confusing. Just give you a rundown as well before the peloton come over of exactly who's winning each. So, of course, in the overall points classification, we've already said Cadel Evans is leading, and just ahead of Mark Cavendish. Viviani was third in that, and he'll remain third, but just 1 point behind Mark Cavendish now. Just trying to find the classification of the intermediate sprints one. Get back to you in just a moment.
8 minutes and 1 second, 64.5 kilometres to go.
Here we go, sorry.
Go on then.
Worth is leading that he's got 18 points. Lichtart is second, so that's why he tried to spring a surprise on Viviani. That was the only way he was likely to take maximum points, because Viviani, of course, a great sprinter, has come second twice already. So 5 points for Viviani, 4 for Lichtart. So he goes up to 15 points, 3 points behind Cameron Worth of the Cannondale team now.
Well, all the talk in the press, a lot of the talk in the press is about Uran and Enau today. It's a bit unkind to say that they have been denied doing their own thing, but it's a team game. This, let's not forget. Look at the torrents, incidentally. When Dan Lloyd came through this part of the world, not that long ago, a couple of weeks, I think there was snow by the side of the road. Well over a metre. They still cut the road through, or cleared the road, and it was stacked high. And there is the melt off, as you can see. That keeps everything so green in this part of the world, and it is a torrent, and we'll see
This is the start of the climb now, and you can see how narrow it is.
Wow.
I don't think, I think in the bunch behind there's going to be a big fight to get into this near to the front, because as you can see, only 3 riders maximum width. Bit of laughing and joking going on in the breakaway now. It'll be interesting to see who starts to press on first. As I'd predicted, I think Serge Powell's and Mercado, they're the best kind of climbers out of this group. You can't count out Brute either. He's not a pure climber, but when it comes to a breakaway, he always seems to be one of the strongest. Rodriguez probably 2 of the Androni team. Likely to suffer, Viviani, Decker, maybe Miller as well, but on his day Miller's not bad, and he looks to be getting a lot better.
He's been screaming loudly now, hasn't he, after that amazing descending individual escape. I think he was alone for over 60 kilometres and was in part of the escape for well over 100. So yeah, bravery counted for an awful lot. This is thinning down up front right now, and it's going to get more and more select the deeper we get into today's stage.
Yeah, it will do, and they'll try and... Is that... sorry, thought I saw Miller back there. Yeah, Miller... What was that? No, it's Decker. Sorry, getting myself confused here. Yeah, they will thin down gradually as the stage goes on. The strongest, of course, coming to the fore and wanting to press on the climbs, rightly so, because if they've got any chance of sticking away until the finish, they'll need to, not hang about up this first mountain of the day. And last climb as well, a long one. To me, it's still not looking particularly good for them, especially since Team Sky came towards the front. But Popovic still pushing on. He dropped his teammate Bernardi not long ago, but it's only been him on the front so far. No one else seems interested in helping him.
Well, there'll be a lot of speculation today as maybe it's a chance, Dan, for us to talk about how the profile of this Giro is about to change.
Yeah, it's the first of the bigger mountain stages, the first mountaintop finish, and the first as well in terms of the form we got to see of the riders. We got it in time trial, but just a slightly different discipline, of course, to climbing a 20% climb, as we're going to see towards the end of the day. Tomorrow, it finishes up a climb, nothing near as severe as today, but still a little bit of a test. They go up the Sella Chiampigotto.
Very good.
Yeah, does that sound about right? Which peaks at 1,790 kilometres. Then we've got sprint day. The big weekend is coming up this Saturday and Sunday. We head towards Sestriere on the Saturday, and it finishes up a climb called the Jaffarao, which hasn't been used since the 60s when Eddie Merckx won. That's a tough little climb, a little bit like the Pian di Resinelli, which Rabatini won last year ahead of Rodriguez. And the following day they head into France, so up the Telegraph and also up the Galibier. Reports coming in actually from one of my guys from Italy that I follow on Twitter. In fact, I think he might be French, but saying that the Galibier is looking really, really bad still in terms of snow at the top, and there's a chance they might have to push the finish a little bit further down, that they might not be able to reach the top even with snow ploughs, and they're actually using explosives as well to try and dislodge some of the snow. Hence the reason that in my preview video for that I didn't go all the way up. Health and safety.
Yeah, I see. That's why. Well, we want to preserve him for you. Oh, hello. This is a moment, and it looks like Vincenzo Nibali is off the bike, and he's on the deck. Has he picked himself back up? Yes, he has. Oh, goodness me. For a moment there, I thought he was down and staying down. This is his second bike change today. A major incident for the pink jersey, Vincenzo Nibali. Now, the pace is being set by Sky up front. I don't think there's going to be any waiting today. Absolutely not the way things have happened in the press as far as Sky are concerned. They're pressing on, as you can see, and he's quickly back on. That was a very swift change.
Yeah, didn't see exactly what happened. Not sure if it wasn't on the screens or if I wasn't concentrating enough. Let's try and get a replay of that and just...
Here we are. Let's have a look.
Yeah, another problem with the bike. Just the chain came off, I think.
I thought
he was
from a strange angle, so you'll have to forgive me, that he was actually on the ground. But it's the second bike change that he's had to deal with. Thought it was the chain. Did he actually swap bikes with a teammate at the back? Goodness me. Well, there he is. Suddenly an issue. Well, Bradley Wiggins had his own technical issues, as you've known. And yes, now it has bitten the pink jersey. And very, very swift change there, or dealing with it. I'm not sure whether he's still got an issue. We're on that little ramp as we were talking about, and then the kick-up.
Yeah, that's the very slight downhill. You've seen the breakaway on the other side of the screens, have done the big downhill, and now they're onto that, nicely resurfaced since I did it, climb up towards the finish. The top peaks at 1,552 metres, and you're right, it doesn't seem like Team Sky are waiting at all. Quite often, if it's a leader of the race, Rodriguez decides that enough's enough. Either he wants the mountain points or he wants to press on try and win the stage.
Well, he was looking the freshest of most of them on the climbs here. Rodriguez has decided that he's going to stretch his legs ever so slightly, and why not? Yeah, just going back to what we were saying, Dan. Yeah, why would they wait? They're angry, Sky. Angry. They feel like that this race has not treated them very kindly, and I think you and certainly the press. And so maybe the word is just do what you have to do. Rodriguez is doing exactly that now off the main chasers. Omega Pharma Serge Pauwels could possibly go well today. Well, he's pushing on. So is, by the looks of things, Gatto, but Rodriguez is on a real stretch, maybe trying to think of doing a Belkoff. We'll see. There's Sky. Absolutely no break in their tempo whatsoever when the radios would have gone nuts about the pink jersey. He's just behind the red jersey of Cadel Evans, by the way, is Nibali now, and he's close at hand to Sky, who are essentially working for him, it seems. His teammates have disappeared.
Yeah, well, they dropped back as soon as they saw that his chain had dropped, so they obviously are not on quite the same form as Nibali, and they'll struggle to get back up as quickly as he did, so he might be isolated a little bit sooner than we were even expecting. Zandio of Team Sky still leading the bunch. Rodriguez on his own up front. Jackson Rodriguez, that is, from Team Androni. And just behind them, Serge Pauwels trying to bring a group, including Gatto, back. Thomas Dekker was still almost up there. Couldn't quite get onto the coattails of the group. We've got some overhead shots of Nibali now, just as we come out of the trees here.
We will see him, and he is thin on the ground as far as teammates are concerned. Always keen to help out a struggling team principal, and of course he is the leader of this year's race. There, leading everyone over the mountains at the moment, is Jackson Rodriguez, the Venezuelan.
I'm just trying to see in the background exactly what's going on behind, but they were closer to him before, so Rodriguez obviously feeling pretty strong today. It's Gatto leading the chase behind. Still a fair way before they get to the top. The climb peaks 49.6 kilometres to go, so 6 of the hardest kilometres still to come, and you can see the effect that's having on the breakaway. Scattered all over the place, gaps opening up between all of the riders. Got Popovic, I think it is, coming back. He's done a lot of work already on the climb. He's leading a trio with Gatto and Pauwels. They might be able to get back on the descent even if they can't catch Rodriguez on the climb. But if it's having this effect on the breakaway and Team Sky continue to set that pace behind, might well start to have the same effect on the big bunch behind.
Looking handy. Pavel Brut's making the best of this. He's in that Giro that are just being distanced ever so slightly. And this is what it's about, tempo. Sky know how to ride beautifully, and they've got an attack going on here.
Yeah, as I said, this is Pelezzotti, the Italian champion, in second place behind his teammate. He's from this local area, hugely motivated to try and take the victory today. He was in fact in the top 3 overall in the Giro d'Italia back in 2010 before being subsequently banned. But he's over that now. Back with Androni last year, took his first ever Italian National Championships, and they've decided that if they're going to go for it and he's got a chance of stage victory, they need to go now, because he probably won't be able to keep up with the favourites on that last climb of the day. No response from behind just yet.
Well, Pelezzotti is something of a threat. They won't let him get too far because he's only 5 minutes and 3 down, and if he is playing a long game in the Giro d'Italia, and there's no other game to play except for a long one, but today it may well be individual glory that the Italian champion's going for. The green top of his national jersey, that's a teammate of his incidentally, that is pacing him at the moment. It's just that he's wearing the national jersey, which so they are both from Androni Giocattoli, Venezuela, and they've also got, of course, Rodriguez, who's bossing it out front. So he's going to be a helper for Franco Pelezzotti if he runs out, if he drops back off the nose of the escapees. We'll see. 54.6 kilometres to go. We have 2 major climbs to be dealt with today. I think the first one of them can really be counted as 2 separate climbs, but it's taking a massive toll. As you can see, we saw Ryder Hauscherdal just a few moments ago, and he looked in a terrible place. And indeed, there are others that we're sailing by now that will join that grouping. Pavel Brut's just allowing himself a drink, having dropped back ever so slightly. 4 minutes and 40 is the gap, and it's closing with Sky's tempo doing a proper job. But just off the nose has gone Pelezzotti and a teammate. Haven't got a number on him just yet, I'm afraid. And there's 2 Colombians likewise from Team Colombia who are up there too. Oh, look at this, Dan.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Don't think that is Hejerdal, but certainly didn't see any any Garmin rise at the front. That's Stettiner and Danielson on your screens now. It's not Hejerdal as the graphic says, but I don't think he's in that lead group either. There he is.
There he is.
There he is now.
Deary me. Well, Ryder is really suffering, and if this adds significant minutes to his total today, I think you can more or less say that that's done, because there are tougher mountains to come, and he looks like he's struggling. Not sure whether he has got any kind of illness. Has said as well that he took a tumble off the bike not long ago, and he's been fighting to get back to form ever since. Came here hoping to do his level best and was talking about a possibility of a podium. Well, he'd have to change his fortunes, to be honest, from what we've seen so far, if that's going to become reality. But they have got a Sky train leading up the mountain, setting a cruel tempo right now, and it's a tempo that seems to suit Bradley Wiggins. We will hope that he can get back in the frame at the end of today, shall we? This is Jackson Rodriguez, who's just taken on another water bottle, and indeed has got a warm vest, because when they start the descent, it is getting chilly, particularly where the trees are close at hand, and the narrow course that we've got off the Passo Canon di Lanza is narrow, is chilly, and maybe he's just going to need that. Maybe it's a suspicion that we might hit some rain later on, so they're servicing him well with 50.6 kilometres to go.
15 points on offer in the mountains competition for the first rider over, which looks certain to be the man on your screen as he's just reaching that point at the moment. 2 points is all he's got in that competition so far. He moves up to 17. Karatzi still dominating that with 38 points.
Here we go then. He will begin the descent right now. So first through Di Lanza. Very, very good effort by him, and the clock counts back. And some of the other escapees coming through.
Yeah, Popovic doing a good ride there, limiting his losses 16 seconds behind Rodriguez of Androni. And I think that Popovic will probably catch the Androni rider when he comes down this next descent, which is particularly technical and particularly narrow. A few nasty corners, in fact, with barriers on the edges, as I was showing you last night.
I'm desperate to see where the Italian champion is, to be honest. We'll be picking him up in a few moments' time. That's Gatto as part of the original escape. Jackson Rodriguez has already gone down. I'm just trying to see who he's teed up with here. Serge Pauls, I think, from Omega Pharma. Yes, it is. So that gap starting to tick away. It's a proper measure, as you can see, bottom left of your screen. So you know just. It is a very long one, by the way. It goes from kilometre 117 all the way down to 145. So what's that, 37 kilometres that they're going to deal with, just about 37, 38, something
27.
like that. There you go, there's my maths for you. But it's a long run nonetheless, and it is sinuous, it is narrow, there are lots of hairpins to deal with, and it's cold.
It is, yeah. Thomas Decker just putting on an extra jacket. You can see the snow down the other side, so obviously north facing on this side of the climb, or on the descent, shall I say. Wow, look, it's a nice road compared to what I had to ride down the other day. Very smooth surface. They've done a good job for these riders. There were plenty of holes and stones when I came down it just a couple of weeks ago. A lot of work goes into the roads before the riders pass through it for this Giro d'Italia.
Well, the countback beginning. 2 minutes is to the remainder of the breakers, and I think you're going to see Pelazzotti fairly shortly, who's going to come through here. It's Cannondale's Viviani, I think, that's going to make it through right now. Well, they still now have, they have a 2 minutes and 10 seconds, so we still wait to see Pelazzotti come through.
Not a bad ride by Viviani. Of course, he's a sprinter, as I mentioned earlier on in the programme. Twice second behind Mark Cavendish on the only two big bunch sprint finishes that we've had so far. So only 2 minutes and 12 seconds behind Rodriguez is not a bad effort at all. Here's a Gesink from Team Blank on the right hand side of your screens at the back, number 51.
Oh dear.
In the black, white and blue. You can tell from that he's not feeling on top form today. We've also got one rider from Francis de Jeux. It's number 105, which is Johan Le Bon. Quite surprised to see him in there. We've got one rider from Katusha, Benat Inchausti, the former pink jersey wearer, after going into that in stage 7. Yeah, Betancur still wanting something from the car behind.
Was it just water? He's passing a man, a gentleman in a Dayglow green, bright green Olivia. Oh, hello, this is a kick, and it's Nibali who's just gone to the front.
For the descent.
Yes, and he is a fantastic descender as well, as you possibly well know. Lovely the way the other day he slid out on a very wet road, picked himself up after squeezing the surface for those behind him almost, just got back on the bike and was equally as committed after the tumble.
Yeah, just trying to decide whether they want to put Sky under pressure on the descent or whether they just thought that they might be able to drop Sips off, who's been working for a long time on the front, so that he's not there to help Sky between now and the last climb up to the finish. Could be either of those, but it is definitely really thinning the group down right now. There was only about 8 of them going over the top there. That acceleration from Astana really put the pressure on the guys behind, although partly because they were going back for bottles and warmer clothing before this descent.
There are the switchbacks that they've got to deal with. Rodriguez Mercado, the next man over at that climb. Here we go.
I made a big mistake. That's been Mercado going for it, hasn't it? Not Popovic, who was on the front earlier on. Very sorry for that.
Here we go then. Every single corner is a winner if you're good at this, and is a loser will knock you back if you are fearful on the descent. We'll see how Bradley Wiggins goes. In the wet descent, he had absolutely no confidence. It was just knocked. We'll see how he goes down here. Certainly Vincenzo Nibali, who's wearing the pink jersey, knows that Wiggins has had some challenges, some issues on the descent, and as a result, Astana have gone to the front and they will set a punishing pace down here. We'll see how they roll. High speed it is.
It is high speed, very technical, very narrow, as you can see as well, despite the newly laid road surface. Still going to have to be careful because they can't really swarm all over the road. Only a few feet wide here, and Astana still on the front for the descent, putting the pressure on. It's Agnoli just ahead of his teammate Vincenzo Nibali in the pink jersey. All the Sky Riders just behind them.
Flying we are at the moment down the downhill section. Huge descent off the Casa di Lanza, and this is our leader on today's stage, Jackson Rodriguez, and he was the first to put on his rain cape to give himself some protection from the cool wind. Motorcycle very close to him, perhaps a bit too close for my liking on some of these hairpins. There is wet as you can see. There's a lot of snow melt. As we get further down here, the snow's disappeared, but its impact is still being felt as you get these stripes across the road. It has been a repaired surface, so it can engender a little bit of confidence. And Bradley Wiggins trying to stay in touch with Nibali, who's a master descender. Well, if you're going to have somebody picking your lines for you, why not pink jersey?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been doing that a lot in the race so far already, Nibali, choosing the right lines. It's not that people didn't want to follow him, it's that they just couldn't on some occasions. So 3 Sky Riders left, only one with Nibali. Kanga, I can't see at the moment. It's Agnoli on the front. Is that Kanga about 5th in line? I think it probably is. So kind of stalemate here. 3 riders from Sky in the first 6 and 3 riders also from Astana in a very much whittled down group.
Yes, hugely thinned down. I've got to say as well, Bradley looking much better on the descents here, but then again he's got a master in front of him so he can follow his lines. Difficult to do, especially when it's somebody like Nibali, and look at the stretch that's going on now on one of these quicker sections. Immediately after the hairpin, getting the power down, able to do that quickest, and if you do have a concertina effect, so you get some backing up, it means that you can't get through the corner as you would if you were on your own. Rodriguez is on his own up front. These guys, though, some real quality, just backed up a little bit. Haven't caught Cadell, but I'm sure he's here.
He got distanced slightly when Astana went to the front at the top of the climb, but he's bridged back that gap now. I expect a few people were just caught by surprise at that acceleration, just expecting Sky to boss things right the way to the top. That's not what's happened in the end.
That was a lovely little corner we saw a moment ago there by Rodriguez. He's clearly picked his moment beautifully. Let's have a look here through one of these hairpins. Oh, we've got a sort of a super slow-mo going on right now, and that's why. Big checkup, and if you get it wrong into those barriers, you can quite easily slip underneath, and then it'll go quiet for quite some time as you go through the air. Yes, let's hope that they don't. 44.1 kilometers to go, and there are the trees that are causing all the cool, and indeed a little bit of mist being held as well. We have got storm clouds that are gathering, but I don't think they're going to burst today. But we're hearing that it will be tomorrow, and it may well be wet for the run for the remainder of the Giro d'Italia. Let's choose not to believe those weather forecasts, shall we? One man who's got great belief in his own abilities descending is Jackson Rodriguez, and this is almost a masterclass. A few moments ago you saw him just get himself into the corner, use the bike to almost spit him in the air, switched round beautifully. It's the sort of thing it's very difficult to explain. It either comes naturally to you descending or it doesn't. You can learn the craft, but to be honest, it's those guys who feel comfortable and confident looking further down the road beyond the hairpins that they have to face. So they're so skilled going through them, they can actually preview the next corner much better. And if you have that confidence and that natural ability, then it just counts for so much on a day like today. Just
rider as well.
This is the moment where the escapees are finally brought back. Led by Sky, Sant'Ambrogio close at hand towards the top here, and Bradley Wiggins making his way through the peloton. Vincenzo Nibali is also there, rather threateningly. So is Michele Scarponi for Lampre. Some very, very clever and adept climbers, including Cadel Evans amongst this group. Evans has constantly finished very, very well and strongly every single day, which is why he leads the points standings, incidentally. 3 points clear of Mark Cavendish. Will be one of those who hopefully manages to get him before the time cut-off today. I'm sure he will. He's not a bad climber, Mark Cavendish. And there, unfortunately, is Rubiano, who's really struggling. Another day for him, perhaps. 9.8 to go. 2 Sky riders here, and we still look for Bradley Wiggins, but he is just a little bit further back, letting his team perform out front, but sitting on with the others.
Oh, Sanchez in trouble again.
Yeah.
9.7 Ks to go. And he's already towards the back of this group. I think that's Francis de Gris from Lotto Bella, so he's doing a good ride for a big bloke. He's really going to suffer though when steep ramps come a little bit later on, or steeper. We're already on steep ramps here now. 14%, as you said. I think that's this section now. Just trying to get a confirmation on who the Vacan Soleil rider is towards the back of the group. Nibali looking fantastic.
Great.
Barely breathing.
I don't know whether that's
maybe
just whether that's just for us or for anybody else. Now Nibali has been beaten by Sant'Ambrogio a number of times this year. Sant'Ambrogio is here and practically alongside him. Alongside Sant'Ambrogio there in the bright yellow is Cadel Evans as well. Scarponi also there. This is great. And there's Bradley Wiggins as well, just a little bit further behind with a teammate. He's got 2 up front who are setting the pace that Wiggins likes, but he's getting lots of protection a little bit further back as well. Yeah, real shame for him. In fact, he got in when he got eaten up by a number. Betaglin, Feline and Visconti it was that disappointed him right then. Maybe another day, but I think Sant'Ambrogio for that team. Oh, look, they're starting to suffer a little bit further down the order as well. 8.2 kilometres to go. And we still have that horrible ramp to deal with. They know it's coming, going through one of the little tunnels here. So just a brief breakdown of pictures as we dip down and look for them to emerge and see if anyone decides to attack out of the tunnel. It would not be a surprise. So the climb to Alto Piano del Montazio, there it is. And let's find out where we are. Sella Nevea is the punishing point, incidentally. That's where we'll find out.
Attack from Uran.
Oh, he's gone off and said somebody might do it out of the tunnel, and Uran has done exactly that. In the cool of the night, be scared, and in the dark of a tunnel, Uran has gone out here.
Well, that is interesting, because what Team Sky did manage to do was isolate Vincenzo Nibali in the pink jersey. I said that might be what they wanted to try and achieve today. Agnoli was the last rider from Team Astana to hold on to the coattails of that group. He was dropped, and as soon as there was a gap to him, Uran's up the road. So who's going to do the chasing? Not many other teams with riders left. I think Niemiec will probably start to ride on the front from Team Lampre, because he's looking very good. He's still quite high up in the overall classification, 8th, but he'll be riding for Michele Scarponi, who's looked fantastic from the start of the race. But there's a slight lull in the moment. I can see on the other screens that it's Vinny Fantini leading the chase. Not sure which rider it is, whether it's De Luca or Sant'Ambrogio. Oh, Agnoli's just made it back on, so he comes to the front now.
Yes, he does, and it is he, with De Luca right next to him. Yes, 7.5 to go. Up the road, Rigoberto Uran, just to remind you, is 2 minutes and 49 seconds down for Sky. Done a lot of relaying duties. We saw him handing over a little bit of power on the climbs to Bradley Wiggins, and he gave him such a shove he actually fell off his own bike at the same time. So he has been sacrificing himself, but he's going for it right now, and this is causing No reaction at all from those behind just now. Bradley Wiggins is back in here. He was with Enau. He's in this group. Yeah, so is the pink jersey, of course, and there he is, yeah.
In 5th or 6th place, Bradley Wiggins, so he's gradually started to move back up. Luckily for Vincenzo Nibali that Agnoli didn't just completely give up when he did, because when he did get dropped, because he's back on the front now. The only rider that Nibali's got left, and good tactics from Team Sky today. They've faced a lot of criticism over the first week of racing, but ridden well so far today.
Well, talent will come out, and on occasion it'll come down, and I'm afraid. So, lots of crowd to cheer him on, and this chasers here, the clock rolling, bottom left of your screen to see what they've got to do, and Vincenzo Nibali starts to change the pace. Who can stay with him?
I think that's Mike from Team Saxo Bank, but yeah, I think he's just come to the front now, partly for the pace setting, partly to grab this 4 seconds, which is on offer. Interesting to see whether anybody else tries to come round Nibali for what's remaining. Let's try and get back to we've got Uran on the left hand side there. He's looking very good if he's on that steep section, because spinning the pedals nicely. Great job by Agnoli. Chapeau to him for doing such a great job when he was already really fatigued. We saw him dropping off the back a little bit earlier.
And here we go, and Nibali's gone.
The intermediate so 4 seconds.
Is he going to continue? Looks down. He missed a gear change there very, very briefly, and Scarponi on his case as well. Sant'Ambrogio tries to respond. It is a bit of a kick, this, and they're pacing up now. And here comes Cadel Evans. Look at that, left-hand side of your screen, wearing the red, looking very, very cool, Evans. And he'll be out the saddle and bouncing before you know it, but he's setting his pace like a metronome. And I think they might let Evans come to the fore here. He does so, wearing the red jersey of the points leader, and bounces himself to the nose of the chasers. Now, Evans can set a real pace, but it's about explosion, and maybe we have to look elsewhere for that.
Yeah, watch out on the right-hand side. The two riders in the white jerseys, the brown helmets and shorts. That's the Italian Pozzovivo to the forefront there. Just behind him, Betancourt, both amazing climbers. I said a little bit earlier in the programme, but very, very lightweight as well, carrying some 10 kilograms at least, less than the likes of Bradley Wiggins, who's going to do well to get up the steeper ramps here. I'm expecting an attack from them very, very soon. They'll want to try and go for the stage win and to claw back some time in the overall classification.
Well, one of the members of the public there just getting it a little bit wrong off the side of the road. 3.9 to go. Uran it is that's bossing proceedings at the moment. And to be honest, it looks like he's stretching this gap from one of our monitors. We'll see. The chase still hasn't been ignited behind him. It's about the gaps, I guess, between the main contenders for the Giro d'Italia. They might well just let him off the leash.
Sergio, and now the Colombian rider just being distanced again. He's in trouble. We saw that earlier on the stage. Cataldo there as well with Pelizzotti. So we're starting to see who's suffering. Not surprised with Cataldo. He's done a phenomenal job, like Agnoli from Team Astana today. This group whittled down. Bradley Wiggins still there. He'll be pleased to get over this steep section, and very pleased with the way that Team Sky's tactics are playing out at the moment.
Well, the two AG2R riders look like they are planning a coup here. We'll see. Out front, it is the rolling lamprey, and Scarponi's capable, of kicking out as well.
Makia's gone.
Oh, Micah finally. Uran then taking it ahead of Nibali and Scarponi, and look at this.
It's got confirmation from the number. I don't recognise him completely. I'm pretty sure that must be Makia, but being brought back by Niemiec of Team Lamprey.
It is Rafael Maika. He's sprightly, isn't he, the young Pole, and declared team principal of Saxo Tinkoff, and doing a fantastic job. Doing it right now is Uran.
He's on the steepest slopes now. They're going to take a right-hand hairpin and then a left one that's incredibly steep. Here comes Sant'Ambrogio on the left-hand side then.
Well, Sant'Ambrogio is going to increase the pace slowly but surely, and then suddenly kick in. There is Jasink. Betancourt's gone, and Jasink just has to sail around him. Oh, Movistar. Here he goes. Inchausti denied too much attention, it seems, on the time trial. Well, he's going for it right now, and who can respond? The best of them seems to be Micah at the moment. 3.5 to go. He's really got some legs about it, and Micah drifts over as well. Is it a young man's game, this? We'll see.
Bradley Wiggins in trouble towards the back, or at least only setting his own pace up here. All of the favourites seemingly looking at each other, and whilst they do that, Inchausti and Maker of Team Saxo Bank the ones to go off the front. Not sure if they've got a gap on the rest of the riders at the moment. Sant'Ambrogio's still there. Cadel Evans towards the back. Also got, I think, is that Kieselowski from Radio Shack in this group as well. Well, where's looking for the pink jersey? Still there towards the front.
Yes, he is. In fact, third off the nose. He's tracking these guys, and AG2R pick it up right now.
Yes, Pozzovivo from AG2R, because we saw Betancourt off the back.
Oh, he's
just for a moment.
Look how tiny Domenico Pozzovivo is.
Betancourt's back, so he dropped his chain.
Wow.
Put it back on.
Wow.
That looks ominous for the Colombian rider if he made it back up to this group so easily.
Absolutely does. Well, right now Pozzovivo is absolutely spinning up. Nibali is magnificent, I've got to say. We look further back and there's Bradley Wiggins. Is he suffering?
Well, I think he is on these steeper slopes, but it does get easier in about another 500 or 600 metres time. So if he can just claw his way back to them, or at least stay on the coattails on this bit, he's got a good chance of time trialling his way back on over the top. But Pozzovivo really pushing on. Not sure if it's for his own chances or to allow Betancourt to attack in just a short while. But of course, whilst all this is going on, Scarponi.
Oh, he has. He's popped, and Bradley Wiggins just ahead of him here. It's not going to be Scarponi today with 3 kilometres to go unless something dramatic happens. And in fact,
and in Charleston.
And Bradley Wiggins as well. There he is. And wow, we're getting some wreckage here. What we've forgotten about almost is that Iran is the man that started all this, and maybe was just given the get-go. But look at the chase down happening right now, and this is a fantastic little piece of work in a prize package, I think you might say.
Yeah, Pozzovivo 4 minutes and 5 seconds down in the overall standings, 15th overall. You can see his teammate on the wheel of the pink jersey, Nibali. I think Betancourt is looking good for today, and they've dropped a lot of the favourites. Nibali looking good. In fact, he could, if he presses on, put some time into his rivals. Evans second overall, he's been dropped. Nibali just coming up towards Pozzovivo again, so we're starting to really see who's got the form today. Not got a time gap for Iran or seen him at all on the screens for a while. On our screen it says 50 seconds, but I think that's just not changed for a while. Here he is.
At long last, there is Iran, leader of the race. Miglio Rosa Group, 28 seconds adrift, 2.7 kilometres. Now, when does this ease up just a little bit for Iran?
Well, once they get into the last 2 kilometres, it really does significantly drop in terms of gradient. 5.9% for the penultimate kilometre, 3.2% for the final kilometre. So if any of these guys really want to get across, the lightweight climbers like Betancourt, who's looking very good, they need to do it fairly soon.
Bradley Wiggins been roundly cheered by the crowd, but it's to no avail. It looks like he's going to give away some seconds on this climb. 2.5 to go. Likewise, Scarponi, who was supposed to do some real damage today, it's not going to happen for him, unfortunately. In South, he's run out of up to 2.5 to go. There is Nibali of the main contenders. There's no greater form than the wearer of the pink jersey, and he's keeping up. He's doing a proper job, and there'll be some countback seconds to add to his lead by the end of today, by the looks of things. He takes a bottle of water, does Nibali, and just cools himself down just behind Pozzovivo here. We don't think perhaps it's going to be Pozzovivo, though. It may well be Iran who's up the road. 2.4 to go, and there's some real it's taking a toll out there on some real big names being found out, I think, on these very steep gradients. This is the front of the race, though.
Yeah, Rigoberto Urán doing a fantastic ride. Let's not take it away from him. He's been away on his own now for some time. He's got a reasonable gap to the rest of those rides, and if he can just get to that 2k to go banner, fantastic chance. Oh, Evans coming back on with Sant'Ambrogio, also Kieselowski there, so the group expanding behind. They're not catching Pozzovivo. It's Nibali having to do all of the work to try and chase these guys down.
Well, he is the leader. He's being expected to do it. Somebody we thought would be amongst the leaders. Bradley Wiggins just suffering ever so slightly. The motorcycle leaves him alone to his own devices.
Niemiec just dropping back to help his teammate Scarponi, who's been in trouble. Surprisingly today, we're expecting more from him. Certainly wasn't expecting the likes of Maker and Kieselowski to still be in. Bradley Wiggins doing a great ride. I think he's just setting his own pace. He could well come back in that last 2 slightly flatter kilometres.
Let's hope so. Cadel Evans has now hit the front, incidentally. I don't know whether he's going to try and just time trial his way off the nose. Bradley Wiggins has got more of a pace about him now. Is it too late to get back up and not cede any damage? It's a tall order. 1.9 to go, and it's not Wiggins but Urán, also of Team Sky, who is our leader at the moment. And the applause rings out at the side of the road. Plenty of people have made the climb today. But it's going to be some decent gaps out there. Would love to see Oran at the front.
Yeah, I think that is Oran on our screens now, with the motorbikes just behind him. You can see in the distance, or you should be able to see it in the distance, Pozzovivo just coming up next. Gap still, to me, looks pretty significant. I think Oran's looking more and more, Oran's looking fantastic for the stage victory today. And Team Sky, well, you've got to give it to them. You wonder what their tactics were going to be in the second and third weeks, whether they were going to actually attack. An attack they've done. Looks like they're going to come away with the spoils from today's stage. Pozzovivo just starting to get ebbed back by Evans now that he's come towards the front to help Nibali. Let's see if we can see how far Bradley Wiggins is behind that group.
Well, it'll be second place, I think, that they're battling for. It looks like it's going to be Oran. And there is Bradley Wiggins, I think, just eating past, or just driving past a couple of the Lamprey boys, which of course includes Scarponi. There's Cadel Evans still, but rocking and rolling at the moment. I still think it might well be AG2R that pick up the runners-up spot today. There's Bradley Wiggins. Well, he's still laying on some power, and he's passed some other strugglers, some other big names.
Yeah, he's setting his own pace, which is what he always does. Looks like in Chelsea of Team Movistar just about to come back. So that's the first time we've got time gap. We've got 23 seconds is the gap between this group on your screens now and Bradley Wiggins, and 19 seconds from Team Sky's Rigoberto Urán. Back to this group, 1.4 k's to go. Not going to be long now before he hits the much easier slopes towards the end. 2.8% for the penultimate 500 metres, 3.6% average up here towards the finish.
Cadel Evans on the nose. He's often been in this circumstance, and then just been taken towards the end. Flicks the arm out, saying, "Come on, guys, I want some help here." But Nibali is just riding the Evans train at the moment, and is happy to do so. 1.3 kilometres to go for Oran, who's up the road, and it's going to ease down for him, as you've just been told. For Bradley Wiggins, well, this is going to be more time given away to Vincenzo Nibali, one suspects. He passes the 1,700 metres to go, and 1.3, so 400 metres further ahead is Oran.
Betancourt goes.
And he does, he's on the chase down, and nobody minded to go with him. So Betancourt, can he pick it up? And there is Sant'Ambrogio as well with Nibali. Still got nothing left, as Sant'Ambrogio saved himself a little bit. 1,400 metres to go for them. And Betancourt still looks over his shoulder. Not yet, he says, not yet. But, well, he's not there yet, I've got to tell you. Meanwhile, passing the Flamme Rouge is going to be Oran out front. The final kilometre for him, and it looks like it's going to be a stage victory for Sky, even though Bradley Wiggins, it looks like he's going to give away some time today.
Yeah, could well be their first individual victory at the race after the team time trial in Ischia, which seems like an eternity ago now. Betancourt just waited for his teammate Pozzovivo, who can just about see in the background there, before making his attack on his own. I don't think he's going to catch his compatriot. Oh, Nibali's in trouble. He's got gear troubles again.
He's got gear issues again, Nibali has. And sailing by him goes Sant'Ambrogio and Cadel Evans. And he picks it up again. And he's got to fight to get back on. Well, I think you can probably thank Cadel Evans, to be honest, because he's not holding back. But he meant that he did not lead earlier on. Saved a little bit of his legs. Cadel Evans senses something, does he? Bradley Wiggins, well, this is going to play into his hands if that has knocked back ever so slightly, but it's all about Oran out front. He's going to drive towards the line now, slightly broken surface, but he can pick the best route through it right now. He's on the way home, and it looks like Betancourt's going to be the nearest man to him. 500 metres only to go for this man, Rigoberto Oran, who went back to help Wiggins earlier on in this Giro d'Italia. Well, maybe that debt will never be repaid. Who knows? Picks it up, tries to accelerate. Nevins tries to get on his coattails.
Oh, no.
Nibali sailed through, he's gone, and Sant'Ambrogio just blows up. Can't quite find the right gear, it seems, himself. Oran hits the front then. He goes for the line. It's going to be Sky's day, and then it's going to be a case of who picks it up behind. Goodness gracious me, what racing we've had at the very last here. It was always going to be a tough day. We didn't suspect that Oran would be the man first across the line, that he would be on duty for Bradley Wiggins. In the end, he's been allowed to go up front and show us exactly what he could do, and he is coming to the line right now. Rigoberto Oran of Colombia is going to take the day. Thank you very much, he says, and the clock ticks back on those who are in pursuit. Now Nibali, it was that just hit out gear change issues. Maybe he just tried to get onto it a bit too quickly. Betancourt sails through. There is Nibali, and Cadel Evans is still very much with him. Oh, this is great work by Rafa Maika, the young man as well, who will probably go into the young rider's jersey. Betancourt comes across the line, and Nibali riding like an absolute champion. Sant'Ambrosio is going to be there as well, and also take some time. Cadel Evans is in the frame too as they cross the line, and just cedes that position to Sant'Ambrosio as they cross the line here. What a day. Oran, Betancourt, and we look down the mountain for some other big names, and it's a real sorry sight for some of the big GC contenders. Oh, Inzausti comes in, and the clock ticks on. 50 seconds now. Well, Nibali did a great piece of retrieval. He's had awful bike issues today, and you just have to say chapeau to the leader. Did a great job to just hold on. Oh, and you want fight back? Well, here it comes right now, but 1 minute and 5 down on Oran's time today. That's Bradley Wiggins. Well, we'll get the time gaps for you in just a few moments' time. Jasink as well, doing a brave ride today. And still the clock ticks. Daniel Lloyd will be with our day's winner before you know it. But it is a long look. Here is the Italian champion, who, of course, came off his bike in a land he was supposed to know, this district. It's his home, and listen to the crowds as they cheer him through. But it's a sad day for Franco Pellizotti, coming in here with other riders that perhaps could have gone better. Damiano Caruso of Cannondale, is he going to try and beat the Italian champion across the line? I think he might just cede that one to him, courtesy of the fact that the crowd are very well known to Pellizotti. Well, what a day we've had. Every day is a different story, isn't it? And there's been some big losers today. Ryder Ejodal is probably foremost amongst them. Goodness knows when he's going to come in. He was 6 minutes down a long time ago, with the final ramp still to come. Great work from Cataldo. He knows it as well. And there is Oran, our winner. The riders inordinately fatigued. I'm just wondering whether any of them are going to be able to speak to us, maybe once they've gathered themselves. What a day. It's about the Giro, isn't it? And it's about guts and verve. The toughest race in the world's most beautiful place, they say. Hard to argue. Well, Betancourt, superb, but you've got to hand it to Vincenzo Nibali. 3 bike issues as far as we can count, maybe more. Still managed 3rd place. Sant'Ambrosio in 4th. Cadel Evans with the same time as those guys. They were 31 seconds down. So Bradley Wiggins giving away yet more time. There it is, 1 minute and 8, but significantly around about 37 seconds to Nibali. Cadel Evans and Sant'Ambrosio doing a good job to keep their hopes alive. There's your stage results. Rigoberto Oran taking it for Sky. Success in abundance for Sky, it seems, but they want it for Wiggins, don't forget, by the end. And today the climbs. Well, he looked like he suffered. Everybody did, though, don't forget. Vincenzo Nibali, magnificent, in 3rd place on the day. He's our leader. Here's your overall standings. Vincenzo Nibali leads Cadel Evans by 41 seconds. Rigoberto Oran is at 2 minutes and 4. Bradley Wiggins a second further back. Jasink, who was brave today, 2 minutes and 12 down. Scarponi a further second adrift. Sant'Ambrosio almost at the 3 minute mark at 2 minutes and 55. Save for Nibali and Cadel Evans. The rest of the field is more than 2 minutes. Amazing. Nibali is our leader. Save for Evans, the rest of the field more than 2 minutes down. Cadel 36, fabulous again today, but nobody crowning or taking that crown from Vincenzo Nibali. Welcome to stage 11 of this year's Giro d'Italia. 182 kilometers today from Tarvisio to Vaillant. Yes, it's a busy day, as I'm sure you might imagine every single Giro stage is. One built for the escapees, we think, with a big lump right in the middle of the day and a little bit of a test towards the end. So, how did we get to this position so far? Well, it's built for escapees, and we have a whole load of them up the road. We'll have a look at that in a moment. This is the route that they will be taking from Tarvisio and destination Vaillant. It's a sad place, and in recognition and support, I suppose, of the Giro d'Italia, we're visiting on the 50th anniversary of a tragedy that struck this area. More on that in a moment. The big climb in the centre of today, the Giampiggiotto, there it is, and a nasty kick to Vaillant itself up the valleys that brought so much sadness to this part of the world 50 years ago. So we are in Vaillant, and you can see 1963 to 2013. Nearly 2,000 people died on a fateful night back in 1963, 9th of October, at around about 22:11 in the morning. Nearly 2,000 people were swept away as there was a huge landslide which fell into a reservoir, and a 100-meter high wave crashed down the valley, sweeping away the villages of Lagaroni, Codisagio, Costellavazzo, Fortogna, Donja and Provagna, and a way of showing solidarity to those people. The Giro visits this year. So, destination Vaillant, starting off today, further down the valleys in Tarvisio. That's where we're finishing, up in the high mountains. Mountain biking these days, very much part of the summer activity, but it is a quiet place post that tragedy. Yes, and there indeed you saw the scar on the mountain where the landslide fell and caused that incident so long ago. Well, optimism to the fore, moving on, and indeed the Giro d'Italia is here. As we said, the speeds were very, very quick, and in fact it took a long time to sort out our escape on the day. Lots of brutality up front, and finally they had an order. Only 3 teams have failed to get a man in the escape group, I've got to tell you. One of those is not Robbie Hunter and Garmin. Yes, those teams are Astana, who of course have the pink leader's jersey, Lampre, Merida, who have Scarponi, who was expected to feature well yesterday, and Lotto Belisol have Lars Bak, who perhaps should have gone well. So finally, time to settle yourself down, and as it took a long time, it's a long list. 20 riders are in the escape, I've got to tell you, and it takes a lot to sort this sort of thing out, because ever mindful of the threat overall, riders are only allowed to go in the escape if they're no pose to the threat to the leader's jersey. So Aston are quite happy to allow this to take place. So you join us with live images. The 2 main threats of the 20 riders up the road are Yevgeny Petrov from Team Saxo Tinkoff, who's 13 minutes and 9 down, and Dario De Luca, who's been quite a busy boy of late, 13 minutes and 46. Everyone else much further adrift, unless I'm very much mistaken. My name's Carlton Kirby. Alongside me is Daniel Lloyd. Daniel, we're spooling through a very, very long list of hopefuls today.
Yeah, it's that classic Grand Tour stage where so many riders and teams want to get into the break yet again, because it's got a fantastic chance today of staying away all the way to the finish, especially now you can see on the screens 4 minutes and 28 seconds, the gap to the pink jersey, and no reason for Team Astana to chase this back, because as you said, the best placed rider is over 13 minutes down. So it's a frantic start to the race today. In fact, I think the break didn't go until around about kilometre 80. So there was full-on attacks all the way to that point before this breakaway was finally formed.
So they've not been formed for that long, but we still have 83.1 kilometres to go of today's distance. Yeah, rather a sad destination point, Vaillant. We mentioned at the top of the programme a tragedy that befell the area, to be honest. Big landslip at Vaillant, sending a huge tidal wave down the valley and sweeping away several villages. And Yes, the number of those caught up in it approaching 2,000. Many of whom were found many kilometres away, being swept along by the tidal wave. So, yeah, a bit of sadness hanging over the destination today, but hopefully the Giro on the 50th anniversary of the tragedy being a bit of brightness to a place which is kind of reinventing itself as a mountain bike haven. There on your screens, Ryder Ejderdahl, just picking up on him. He got brutalised yesterday. 23 minutes he lost, and it's challenge over for the defending champion.
Yeah, it is indeed. No way back from that for any rider in this race. They lost 21 minutes, and not exactly sure what went wrong for Ryder, whether he's ill or just not on the same form, but certainly a huge disappointment for he and his fans, and of course Team Garmin Sharp, who've got to start fighting now for stage victories, because of course Tom Danielson also out of the picture in the GC now. Got Navadauskas up here, strong as an ox, pink jersey last year for a couple of days as well. And although there's better climbers in this group, it's a bit different when you go in a breakaway. You've got tired legs from the kilometres that you spent attacking at the start and then getting into the breakaway, and of course it can split up towards the end before you hit the final climb of the day. So although De Luca and Petrov, also the Escatel rider Martinez, probably the strongest climbers out of this group on paper, and of course that man just to the right of your picture now, Kobo, who won the Vuelta a couple of years ago, could be anybody's guess who could win this towards the end if they stay away. I was expecting this gap to go up just slightly quicker than it has. I thought Astana would just let them have 8, 9, even 10 minutes lead before starting to claw them back, but keeping them within 5 minutes for the moment. Got some other big name riders, Taylor Finney amongst them, and Adam Blythe, their sprinter. I also saw the Swiss rider Morabito had a bad day yesterday. I think there's quite a lot of riders in the bunch suffering from sickness, illness, and he was one of them yesterday, because actually he wasn't too far down the general classification before they started the day, but he was one of the last riders to finish.
And you probably heard me coughing just a little bit in the background. Apologies for that if that's being picked up by the mic, so try and be as quiet as I can, but yeah, a bit chesty today, so hoping the mountain air will clear all that out. We might have a clear out. Staying with the point, yes, after yesterday's very, very tough finish, they say the toughest of this year's Giro in terms of ramp to the line. We do, of course, have some huge days to come in the mountains, and yeah, today is not one of those days, but it's absolutely perfect, it seems, for an escape. Now, earlier on today, I said to Dan, look, we're going to have a lot of riders going over this big lump. Will they possibly stay away? And well, frankly, we didn't think it would be big enough to actually make it, but 20 riders is a massive amount of firepower, and I would not be surprised to see that the winner today does indeed come from this grouping. It's Serge Palzen, certainly for Omega Pharma, who is in this group, and it's just Orica's, it's Kerkelaer, beg your pardon, that's what I was looking for. Jens Kerkelaer is here for Orica Green Edge. So they go underneath one of these wet water bridges. When you get snow melt, the whole thing looks like an enormous fountain. It's one of those sort of flat fountains, if you like. But they're playing their trade today. Aston are doing the pacing. They've got to. They have the leader's jersey. I suspect they're going to get some help from others around them. Not least Vini Fantini, who are thinking of Sant'Ambrogio, still very much in the frame overall.
Yeah, they're actually on the biggest climb that they're going to face today, which looks quite fearsome when you look at the profile. It climbs to 1,790 metres, but it's only a second category climb. The reason for that is gradients are quite shallow all the way up. I think it averages around 5%. You can see the speed that they're going up it. They hit the top with 81.6. I was going to say 81.6 k's to go. Sorry, 61.6 k's to go. So they've got another 15 k's before they reach the top of this one.
Almost looks like a club meeting, to be honest, with these guys out there. There's no great hurry by the pursuers to wind them in just for the moment, and it may well be that on once they've gone over this lump in the middle, it's sort of a pyramidal profile to today, I think you might say, albeit with a couple of lumps to deal with. One at the end as well, up to Vaillant. But there they are, up the valley. And it is Astana and Nibali that's doing a great job. I've been so impressed with him. he's carried the burden almost of a nation's expectations upon his shoulders, and he just seems unconcerned by it. Stays of pleasant demeanour, although does occasionally look like a rabbit in the headlights when when he comes on stage. It's almost a mark of his humble demeanour, really, that he's constantly surprised at just the adulation that is poured upon him. But he deserves it. He's been fighting brilliantly over this Giro d'Italia. The opening week was superb, and he's just continued again after the rest day just to look so in control. And it's a control that's only really being matched by Cadel Evans of Australia, 36-year-old veteran who we've been talking about, that's just done such an amazing job. There are pointing out earlier on, it may well have been that Oran was not allowed off the leash yesterday, as we've got a move up, and guess who? Pirazzi goes on the attack. Now then, will Team Colombia get back at him? He's bidding for that those King of the Mountains points. Now, we saw Leonardo Duque just showing his presence earlier on, but it looks like Cannondale's Sarmiento that's gone on the chase, and maybe Sarmiento's thinking about the long game later on. Will Sarmiento nick a few points off this man who believes that blue jersey is his? Checks over his shoulder and sees that he has company, and it looks like Sarmiento is wanting some points himself. You know, he got this jersey courtesy of a day over many peaks, Pirazzi, and has added to it again and again. But those days, similar days, still to come. And so, yeah, other riders could be thinking about that jersey as well. A little bit of a warming gilet, sleeveless one, albeit going on our leader, Nibali, but out front it's Pirazzi and Sarmiento of Cannondale, who look like they're going to share the glory here, unless Leonardo Duque from Colombia can bridge over. Snow still very much part of the hollows and some of the darker bends that they go through, which explains why they're putting on the warm gear, Dan.
Yeah, down to 13 degrees, which doesn't sound too cold, but when you stop pedalling at the top and start descending much faster into the wind, not pedalling very much, then it starts to feel cold. How far is it to the top now? 2Ks less, so the graphic just slightly along all the road books, so not too far from the top now. I thought he'd gone early.
Yeah, he had a bit. And Rodriguez,
a lot lining up behind him now.
Yeah, Rodriguez is also there, who would be my pick for the day, just for the heart rather than the head. I'd love him to do well after his disappointment yesterday, and it's Pirazzi that picks it up and goes for it. And Rodriguez is very much in the frame here, decides that he wants a little piece of this, and he's going around the inside of him. No, motorcycle in the way. He's going to have to chop and change. They had to. Bad work by the motorcyclist. Should have been aware of what was going on. Pirazzi, of course, the riders will go across that way to be helped with a little bit of aero. And it looks like it's not going to be Pirazzi's party today. Not a bit of it. Well, Rodriguez has gone off, and I think he may well just try and strike out straight away off the back of this. And he's going to take it, does so for Androni Giocattoli. Now, watch him ride on and down the mountain. He's a good descender. We saw that yesterday. And if his bike holds together and he gets the team back up, you never know.
Yeah, not a bad ride by Rodriguez there, so he moves himself up a little bit in the competition. He was on 17 points at the start of the day, full 21 points behind Pirazzi. Bonifant, he was third over. Serge Powers, I think, fourth. He only had 5 points on yesterday. So a little bit of competition still in the King of the Mountains. 9 points for the first rider over a second category climb, followed by 5. So looks like these three might start to press on now. I
think so, and they're pretty handy as well. Chase is on, and it's being led by the pursuers, and Puccio it is that's foremost amongst them. So Puccio doing a job leading the escape, and indeed Sky doing a job helping out with the pursuers here. Katusha also coming to the fore, as are Lamprey, and they're all thinking about their own players in this long game. Still no great hurryment, and they are, what, 5 minutes and 8 seconds is the gap now to the escapees. There's your mountain sprint. Jackson Rodriguez, who seems up for it today. He was yesterday as well, but had bike issues. Pirazzi, leader of the King of the Mountains competition, just edged over the top there. And you can see on the switchbacks just how much moraine there is in this part of the world. That's the gravel and stones. On the side of the hills, actually netted to stop it moving. And some great big scars on the mountains here as well. And there's Cadell Evans bouncing away quite nicely. Yes, chewing away quite nicely as well. He's been snapping at the heels of everyone, and he is a man more than capable when it comes to this kind of terrain. So yeah, just happy to be out front, to be honest, and constantly showing his nose. No more points left for him to garner just for the time being, but some later on today. Jasink also there, number 51 in the blue and black with the stripe. Incidentally, word that Blanco may well have found themselves a sponsor. They're in deep negotiations with a home appliance manufacturer from the United States that may well pick them up. Talks at the highest possible level, and it would be great if that team does march on. They're being funded at the moment by Rabobank, who've decided to withdraw their support from cycling, so it is the Rabobank team of old, albeit without the Rabobank livery that was so famous, tangerine and royal blue. So yeah, maybe they'll have a complete different outfit for next year then. Hope so.
Yeah, will be good. Great to see the Dutch team continue next year. They've been around for a long time under the guise of Rabobank, and just this year, Rabobank pulling out of the sponsorship. They've got enough money to continue going under the name of Blanco, but they really need that main sponsor and partner to help them continue at the top level of the sport. Otherwise, there'll be a lot of rides and staff out of a job at the end of this year. Still, I think there's some more news on Vacansoleil yesterday as well. I think I need to research this a bit more, but I think one of the sub-sponsors might have stumped on a little bit more cash, and they're looking to bike sponsor Bianchi to also come in with a bit more to keep that team going as well.
Well, that would be good. So, wrap-up time. Team Columbia. Well, we thought they may well mix it. I think they sort of just issued the threat, really, rather than delivered a blow. Well, they certainly didn't deliver a blow, but Leonardo Duque amongst the escapees for Columbia. And still they ride on. It's very much a transition day, as we were saying, and we have some days for the quick men coming up before we get to the high mountains. So you're going to have some sprint finishes to play with, to conjure with, and hopefully enjoy. Luca Paolini just riding on. He's looking sprightly today, Paolini.
He is, yeah. He's got his aero helmet on as well, but didn't make it into that breakaway. They're just coming to the front, these riders, when they see their teams. They want to collect some extra clothing or bottles from the side. And, saw the team car Katusha there, so presume that, there you go, just getting a jacket.
Yeah, good idea. And it's starting to get a little bit nippy as the clouds roll on, or roll in here. 61.7 kilometres to go. Well, if you're only just joining us, 20-rider breakaway finally formed itself. Took a long time to do so, and there was a lot of high-speed action this morning. In fact, 53.5 kilometres per hour, and it was after that first hour that the escape group formed. In fact, at 78 kilometres, so a lot of action until that point to decide who was going to make it after the shakeout.
Too technically challenging, and the finish not looking too bad here at the moment. I think it's going to stay dry for them today.
Hope so. We've had some rather ominous predictions about the weather in the run to home. Yeah, we'll see whether they come true. Let's hope not. We had quite more than a dousing in the first week. Brescia beckons, and of course today we said we're over the peak, and in fact it looks like a peak profile today. If you ask a child to draw what they've got to deal with today, it would just be one pyramid right in the middle of the day. There is a kick up towards the end, and in fact some lumps as well after this descent, but really it's about this climb, and it was always going to be a big shakeout, and possible that the escapees made it. Well, I think they will do exactly that. Just over 3 hours in the saddle. It's been busy, but still 60 kilometres to go. It's going to be a reasonable pace about today, and I think they'll probably feel that they've spun into it and spun some strength back into the legs as well. The climb looked ominous, but it was only category 2. Nothing like the ramps that we had yesterday. That was a proper test. And a lot of riders, as Dan was saying, Cadell Evans actually shaking when he was at the top there after the efforts, and indeed the chill that just wafted in the shadows. So we've made our picks for today. Dan and Luca, we both think has got a great chance, but Dan's having that as his the man he's backing today. And for me, well, the heart ruling the head perhaps. Jackson Rodriguez of Androni Giocattoli, who yesterday unfortunately didn't get service properly after Franco Pellizotti, the Italian champion, fell, also a teammate, and the narrow roads meant there was only one team car at hand, so he had to wait. The Miglia Rosa group still just wending its way through this sparse countryside that we have here. In fact, we drove yesterday into this part of the world and said, isn't it strange how few settlements there are, and then all of a sudden they're all bunched together? Well, sadly, if you weren't at the top of the show, today we're in Vaillant, and it is a sad place. It was the venue of a disaster where there was a landslip into a reservoir which sent a 100-metre high wave of water down the valley, sweeping away many villages, and in fact almost 2,000 people lost their lives in 1963. So the 50th anniversary being represented here with a visit from the Giro, so recognition of that and support from the organisers. Quite right.
Which kind of preceded Team BMC. They let a breakaway go so far up the road that somebody that was half an hour behind, Oscar Pereiro, was suddenly into the yellow jersey, and it wasn't that easy for Landis to get it back. I think subsequently, after Landis was banned and his title removed, it went to Pereiro, who hung on for second place overall. So it does happen, not very often, but it does.
5 minutes and 3, they got some testy descents. Thankfully it's dry today, and so nothing too much to worry about. Patrick Gretsch of Team Argos Shimano. Gretsch doing a stretch. He's a big man actually, and so yeah, a lot of weight to put on the crossbar. He wants to just give himself alter his centre of gravity as he's coming down here. It's funny actually, it's hard to pick what sort of stature is best for descending, because it's really all about the mind.
A lot of it is. I think it does also play a part if you've got a low centre of gravity, just for the extra grip on the tyres. But you're right, most of it's technique and natural ability, how good you are at it, what your background is. It seems often the mountain bikers, cyclocross riders, supremely skilled, even track riders as well. If all you've ever done is road, don't seem to sometimes have quite the same skills as other riders. And of course, the other thing is, if you live near mountains, if you started doing them when you were 10 years old and doing descents, you're probably going to be a lot more comfortable than if you come from Holland and only started doing them when you began racing in your career. It's actually a bit twisted than I thought this climb. Didn't do this part of the stage.
Yeah,
sorry, descent. I mean.
It does, but they're very flat, and they've managed the traffic. Even these switchbacks here have a very, very good little bit of bank in there, so they have a positive camber. As you can see, there's a perfect example. You go into a little bowl, skirt around the rim of it, come out the other side rather nicely.
Lovely surface.
Yeah, beautiful. Whoever designed this, good job to you. Yes, Bowbridge just chasing back on here. Great weather today. It's almost, I was going to say it's almost spring-like, but we should be at the end of spring, really moving towards summer. Certainly the rain has felt very much more like sort of late March, early April than this part of the year. Another lovely switchback to be dealt with by everybody, and the pace, as you can see, about 83-85 kilometers per hour, which shows you if you can pick your own lines, then you can have a fine time if descending is your thing. And right now it's Patrick Gretsch from Argos Shimano, along with Radio Shack's Popovic, I think, up front. 5 minutes and 1 is the gap, 55 kilometers remaining. There is a sort of an open road really now until we get to our final ramp. There are a couple of lumps to be dealt with. It's still not sort of arrow straight at any point, or very, very limited in that regard, because we're in the valleys. And racing down the side of one of them at the moment is Patrick Gretsch. He's doing a good job with this.
Quite unusual actually for a 20-man break that there's not more than one rider from any one team. Very often that happens.
Yes, you say it, and I thought there were a teammate, but no, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's all singlets. We did see Robbie Hunter trying to get involved early on for Garmin, but it was Navadauskas that succeeded.
Yeah, it's almost like after 80 k's of attacking, they got together and said, look, we just put one rider from each team up the road and be done with it.
Everyone draw straws and pick a guy and he can go. It was almost like that, actually. And the relief within the chasing peloton, palpable. And in fact, they've just been holding it at around about 5 minutes, as you can see on your screen, for some time. I'll tell you something, Gretsch is doing an amazing job of getting down here. He's looking at a tasty descender, and look how fast they're having to chase on at the back. They had to work hard to get to the front for Astana, and this is the reason why. They wanted to be there to pick their own lines, not get trapped in the bunch.
I have to say, I'd absolutely love to ride down this road. It looks absolutely fantastic.
It does, me too. I'm a pretty handy descender, having grown up in the Derbyshire Dales, cat and fiddle and all that.
I'm still being led by Astana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders in front of the pink jersey of Vincenzo Nibali. So doing a good job again today, as has been speculated about a lot, and as we talked about as well. A long wait until the finish in Brescia, a week on Sunday in fact, and looking increasingly likely that if they want to have the jersey at the end, they're going to have to defend it pretty much all the way through from now until then. And what effect will that have on their riders? Will they be able to keep that going for another 10 days? Remains to be seen.
It's a lovely piece of engineering, this. Just look at how beautifully delivered those bridges are, those viaducts that they're using as well. Absolutely fantastic. Well, yeah, nice to do when the road's closed, I imagine, Dan.
Yeah.
I think you'd get pretty much out of shape if you had oncoming traffic as well.
Yeah, some roads you can kind of see whether there's traffic coming up, but I wouldn't recommend crossing the middle of the road. In fact, we had a couple of moments last night in the car with people coming the other direction.
Yes, I'm not quite sure how I will describe it, but without being impolite. But yes, laundry is expensive in this part of the world. That's all I'll say. 52 kilometres to go. 5 minutes and 20 is the gap, and you're looking at the front of the race, and Patrick Gretsch. Don't try this at home, by the way. Using the knees as an air brake and a counterbalance, and doing a good job. He's swinging around these corners very nicely.
He is, yeah, taking them very, very well indeed. Just trying to see exactly how far the other breakaway riders are behind. Again, he's obviously pressing on for a reason. Presumably he would like a couple of riders, 4 or 5 riders to go with him, and try and break this very large breakaway into pieces, have some stronger riders towards the front. It's only a matter of time before they start attacking each other once they realise they've got enough of a time gap. I guess at the moment, still 5 minutes and 9 seconds with 50 k's to go. They should still press on together, doing as much as they possibly can to maximise that time gap and make sure that they're fighting out for victory between them, and it's not one of the riders here from the bunch that springs at a surprise at the end.
Well, you know, I'm now beginning to believe that somebody might pop out here. 50 kilometres to go, 5 minutes. It's sort of that rule today. We've talked about a general rule of thumb. For every 10 kilometres, you've got to have at least a minute of time advantage. It kind of, I suppose, might count on a day such as today, which has a very long descent as part of that. Normally we talk about it with 20 to go. If you've got 2 minutes, you might well do it if you've got a quality escape group. Really, it's about 10k to go with 1 minute. You'll be spurred on to make it home. Possibly a bit too far out for that rule of thumb to count, but we have got these descents, and they don't seem to be that minded to close it down. There we are, 50 to go marker, now well and truly passed by this man Patrick Gretsch, who's doing a super job on the descent. It is a long one, let's not forget. It doesn't peter out until 21.7 kilometres to go, so he might well stretch this a bit, is that right?
No, it's 43 to go. That's,
I'm looking at yesterday's map. Do forgive me. It peters out with 43 kilometres to go, so he's still got 6 kilometres to go. Sorry about that, I do apologise. But he can still chase on and stretch this a little bit, and it may well be that he encourages a rather select group of hopers for today's stage out of the escapees.
Yeah, looking at that other shot just then, seems that the rest of the breakaway riders are still together at the moment. Of course, there's no tactics between teams at the front there because nobody with more than one rider. Of course, if you've got 2 riders in the break and it starts to split up, makes things a little bit easier for you. You can have one rider go with each move, make sure that you're in the kind of final selection, as it were. Gaps remained pretty stable, hasn't it, for the last hour or so? 5 minutes 25.
All of a sudden, I don't know whether it's a data relay that's happening, but he's just found another 15 or 20 seconds has Gretsch up the road, and it really is strung out amongst the escapees. They're now a little bit of panic just washing through them. They're going down this very, very quickly, and they are stretching the gap. It's going to be over 5.5 minutes before you know it. And Gretsch is absolutely monstering this descent. He's still got a couple of kilometres to go.
Yeah, great time trialist, Patrick Gretsch. Remember him taking the prologue in the Tour of Colorado a couple of years ago. He's very good on those short individual time trial efforts. On the stage, of course, today with some bigger climbs which don't normally suit him, but they went quite steady, both in terms of the gradient and in terms of the pace that the breakaway sustained up that long climb of the day. But he's over the worst of that now, and in fact the one to the finish, not a bad one for him. 5% for 7Ks. It's perfectly doable for a rider like Gretsch. Of course, it's always different once you get 10 or 11 days into a Grand Tour. Some people are more fatigued than others. Some people come in with great form and start to get a bit fatigued. Other people come in with slightly under par form and get better as the days go on. So you never know what to expect from each rider, even though we know the riders quite well and what they're capable of. You can always be surprised at this stage of a race.
Pace and distance into your fellow riders here, and yeah, he's got a he's got a 1 minute and 2 second sit-up time if he wants, almost enough time to buy an ice cream.
Yep, and obviously he had a plan before the race, well not before the race, but whilst he was in the breakaway, he wanted to go away either on his own or with a couple of other riders. As I keep mentioning, it is a big breakaway, 20 riders. There's a lot of, there's a big chance you're going to finish outside the top 10 despite all your hard work. So you really need to start thinking now of exactly what plan you're going to have in place to make sure that you get a good position at the end and the best chance of winning the stage. And this is Patrick Gretsch going all out already for the stage victory. There is that little ramp coming up shortly, which in about 5 kilometres time. I'm just wondering whether the riders behind the remaining 19 will start to attack each other up there, because at the moment, well, as always happens in a big group, there's always some people that sit on and the riders at the front say, well, if you're not riding and I'm not riding, and the kind of cohesion can break down very easily. So it's better to have a slightly smaller group. Now they've got that gap established, and that group could be formed on that next little ramp up to the second and final intermediate sprint of the day.
Well, the peloton is closing on the main group of escapees, but it looks like a bigger gap than it perhaps is because of this man, and he's just tightening up his shoes here, as you can see, and he's going for it. Wow, Patrick Gretsch, you never know. There is an awful lot of descending built into today's stage, and to be honest, we talk about downhill ramps, but he can kind of maintain more easily his gap, which is formed on his co-escapees here. 1 minute and 21 seconds back to the 19 riders that remain in that escape group. Gretsch, of course, has gone on his lonesome, and these guys 5 minutes and 26, but Astana have paced up. Patrick Gretsch, incidentally, in the overall classification is 1 hour 21 minutes, nearly 1 hour 22, just 2 seconds shy of 1 hour and 22 minutes down. So they won't be concerned about winding him in, but they do want some members of the escape group. So if they're looking at each other and not chasing on, and Gretsch is still doing his aero thing, he's having fun.
Yeah, just looking back through his results, as I mentioned earlier, I know he's a great time trialist, but looking on Pro Cycling Stats, it really goes to prove that. Of all his top 6 results this year, 5 of them are against the clock, either individually or as a team. In fact, he was 13th at the 54.8 kilometre individual time trial here just a few days ago, so he's on great form. He can obviously do a good time trial for the distance that he's away between now and the finish. So not the kind of guy you want to let have 1 minute and 23 seconds. It's going to be hard for these guys to get him back.
It is. So he's got to go into time trialing mode right now. He'd probably like a bike change. Of course, you're not allowed to use a time trialing bike except in the time trial. 40 kilometres to go, and he sails under that, and he's got a real pace about him, and I think we might have a little bit of a fairy tale for Gretsch today. We'll see. 1 minute and 26 back to G2 on your screen. That is, or the remainder of the escape group today. I don't suppose we can really call it that. It's now just the second group. It is quite big. It's 19, and they're being chased down now by the peloton. But nobody's going quicker than this man. Patrick Gretsch is on a mission. Berkler Navadauskas, that intermediate sprint listed there for you. But Gresh is going to hoover up a whole load of points in different categories if he carries this one to the end today.
I think he'll need at least a minute and a half when he comes up to that final climb of the day. 7.5 kilometres to remind you, it's an average of around about 5%, maximum gradient of 9%. It's amazing how quickly a gap dwindles, especially when you've been out on there on your own for that length of time, if he is out for that length of time. But looking good at the moment anyway.
Very much so, and if he needs a minute and a half, he's got it now, he needs to maintain it. Now from G2, that's trimming down. I think that's back to these guys. We need G3 and possibly G4 before you know it. And but there he is, Patrick Gresh. Did it on the descent. He's got two men who are coming over to him. That's Daniel Oss and Navadauskas from Garmin, Oss from BMC. And if they can reach him, he will like their company because they're kind of built like him, and he will feel he's got a chance against them. Well, looking further back, trying to get a tab on that second group. It's now formed into 5 chasers. It does include Jackson Rodriguez, who was in yesterday's escape, who can climb. So watch out for him, the big boys up the front.
The trouble is when it comes back together like it looks like it is just about to, they'll start looking at each other again.
Oh, they're weaving.
And the two that are chasing down the lone leader, their advantage will go up even more. Not any time gaps for you between the two, but wow, massive gap. I mean, these two riders are absolute beasts. I've ridden with both of them. There's not many riders more powerful on flat roads than Oss and Navadauskas. 31 seconds they trail.
Minute and 4 back to the main body of the former escape. So we have our leader Gresh. He leads the two men who are trying to get back to him, Navadauskas and Oss, by 29 seconds. But he also leads his co-escapees by well over a minute now, which suggests that this group may well start to just pace up a little bit, the main peloton, as they chase on. This is fun. And right now, I'm just waiting to see if they can do it for the big guys. Let's see. Bit of a relay there by Lichtert and Paco Soleil to bring water bottles up to his teammates. No urgency amongst Astana, and they're on the nose of the peloton here. They're on this downhill gentle ramp. So it looks like they have allowed this to happen now. 5 minutes and 14 with only 17 kilometres to go. It's going to be from the escape. It's a question of whether it's going to be a big guy or a little guy. We've got the powerful men who are going off the front, trying to hit the ramp first to carry a bit of momentum, and they've made it. Oh, look at this. That's Patrick Gresh out front, but Daniel Oss of BMC and Navadauskas have done a superb job of getting back to him. I suspect Gresh was told over the radio that they were coming.
He's going to have to do a sprint to
get
on
here.
here.
Come on, pick it up, Patrick. Well, they see him and suddenly realises that they're there. Or maybe he wasn't told. He knows now. Well, he'll get back on and they'll allow him to be at the back and just rest up a bit because they need his firepower too. Let's not forget. Oss and Navadauskas sailing by. They can't just sit up, don't forget. They've got to race on. And so now it's a job of Patrick Gresh to fight forward. He can't get on their wheel at the moment.
Well, I told you, these two riders are incredibly strong, and you can see that just by how hard it's... I mean, Gresh has been out there on his own for a while, but he's a beast himself, and he's struggling to get back onto the two. He's made it now, but he'll be thankful of a bit of rest, I think, and a bit of towing as well.
Yeah, he will. Don't see him come to the fore of this trio for a while. Well, hello, fellas. Glad you came along for the ride. And here they are.
Very interesting the way this stage is playing out. Just under 10 kilometres before they reach the last climb of the day, and these two, or three, will want to maximise their advantage before they get to that point, because not known. I mean, these both guys at around about 80 kilos. There's a couple of guys in the breakaway down towards 60, and I can tell you 20 kilograms makes a big difference, even on a 5% climb, as we're seeing towards the finish. So they'll push on as much as they...
Poor old Patrick Gresh. He is a good time trialer, and he's anything but at the moment. Look, time trialers famously keep their shoulders absolutely locked solid and let the legs do the work, but he's rocking and rolling all over the place right now because Gresh needs to keep up with Oss and Navadauskas, who bridged to him, and it looks like the stuffing's been knocked out of the escapees. They are holding station at the moment at 1 minute and 4 down on the new trio up front. And they lead the pink jersey group by, well, just 3 seconds shy of 6 minutes. So they've kept their pace. What will happen with the remainders of the escapees, I do not know. But I suspect when it comes to the last ramp, you're going to see some of them going for it.
Yeah, this is the remainder of the breakaway. 17 riders here now, 3 up the road. They are working together, but the gap's going to increase the way that those 2 at the front are pressing on, and there's going to be a bit of panic behind, and they first get the time gaps in their ears, I think.
I think so. And when that happens, we've had a little bit of radio fallout to team members out there. We've had celebrations which which were false, having already seen the winners come across the line, and indeed we've had interconnection problems with riders in trouble not getting service. Navadauskas, Os and Dresch, though, far from troubled. They're having a great time, and they passed the 15 kilometres to go banner. Right, well, it's endgame time. What's your crystal ball saying to you, Dan?
I think 3 riders are going to separate themselves from the break of 20.
But will they get caught?
Oh, well, it's very hard to tell at the moment. We haven't got an official time gap between them. It says on our screen a minute and 4, but that's not updated all the time. Looking at these 2, I think it's going to be close to 2 minutes when they reach the foot of the climb. And if it is 2 minutes, they've got to take a big chase from one of these guys behind to get across to them, because you know, the 5% gradient will play into their hands. If it was 20% like yesterday, then I'd say, yep, that 2 minutes is going to diminish very, very quickly. But it's quite a fast climb. Haven't seen it personally on the day, but 5% climb, these professionals, even when they've been a break all day, 25 kilometres per hour plus. So, you know, if you're going to go 25 k's now at the front, then it's very hard to go 30 behind to catch them up. So I don't know, they've got a good chance in my opinion, if they can keep 2 minutes coming into the start of the climb. Only, what, 7 k's to go now before they hit it.
These are the chasers. Kirkelaire, Warwick Greenedge, did his turn, just handing over via Movistar and Kobo to Paul Martins. So they're relaying well, but I think they may well have underestimated the quick big guys who've gone up the road here. 14 to go, and if they are sapped on the climb, I suspect we're going to see a select group of punchy climbers go for this. The likes of Daniel De Luca, Jackson Rodriguez of Androni, De Luca of Fini Fantini having another go, and they're going to have to not leave it too late. I suspect in the next couple of kilometres it's either go or no.
Minute and
back on Soleil. Here we are, our 2 leaders up the road, Daniel Os and Navadauskas. There they are. Well, this will be magnificent if this comes. Navadauskas, incidentally, from Lithuania, with that Romandy stage win to his name, will be dwarfed by his achievement today if he manages to do this.
Bonifant
again,
the attack now.
Yeah, has another crack, but I think that they are have left this a little bit too late. Puccio's there as well off the nose of the peloton, and they're just trying to get over to Duque of Colombia, but yes, I think 2 minutes and 14 might well do it. Here you go, Bajont waiting.
I'll tell you what, if those 2 do stay away together and fight it out for victory, it's going to be an interesting fight, because they're very similar riders, very similar size, similar strengths, both pretty good sprinters, not outright bunch sprinters, but they've got a fair amount of power, and well, I'm looking forward to seeing that battle, actually.
Me too. 6.6 kilometres is all they have left of the day, a little less than that now, and we're just tracing those trying to get back to them. This is a good effort, I've got to say, by Duque. Here he comes. Well, we'll see how sprightly he is up the climb, just shaking out his legs a little bit as he crosses over this bridge and waits for the road to ramp up. He might have something, but it would be hugely impressive if he winds in that kind of gap. 2 minutes and 20 is the gap from Os and Navadauskas back to Duque. They still have Gretsch as in sort of no man's land, if that makes sense. Bonifant chasing on. Gretsch is listed as 10 seconds down. I think he's an awful lot more than that but now, between Navadauskas and Os and he. Well, this is the main pack.
Astana being swamped by the other riders, and the team starting to bring their team leaders towards the front. We can see the pink of Lampre, the bright yellow of Vini Fantini. That's for Scarponi and Sant'Ambrogio respectively. 82 up, coming up with their 2 climbers, Pozzoviva and Bettencourt, who's incidentally been second on the last 2 stages running, and of course with the rest day in between. So the fight for position for this climb, which they're on now, is starting to happen in the bunch. This part now, Well, it's around about 5 or 6%, but it's not far before they reach that maximum gradient of 9%. Duque at 2.5 minutes. Wow, really does look like they've got a fantastic chance. Only 5.8 Ks to go.
Wow. Well, if Leonardo Fabio Duque can light himself up here, and I think he's going to need rocket power, to be honest, because Daniel Oss and Navadauskas have left them behind here. 2 minutes and 30. It shows the power of Oss and Navadauskas and their intent that they're putting that kind of time into a chasing Duque. It's extending.
Oh, is he on it?
No, they're still there together, but
something happened to us.
I don't know what the moment was, but if it was a wheel, didn't see it, then it was a very swift change. I don't know whether it was just going back for a chat. I think that's more likely.
Not
frankly.
sure what's happened there.
How shall I play this? He probably wants to know a little bit more information about his nemesis, who now is alongside him. Yeah. Brief word, was it? Or did he just take a toot and this was a test? Well, they started attacking each other, or at least thinking about it. Not quite sure about that one. Daniel Oss took a drink, nothing more. Was busy chatting to his team car, and Navadauskas decided to stretch his legs a bit.
Oh, he's attacked him again, has he?
I think he just wants to show what sort of pace he thinks they need in order to make this happen for them. Blanco on a charge off the nose of the peloton with 10 to go. Well, this is for Jacink.
It is, yeah. Not sure whether he feels like he can make any time up on this last climb to the finish. To me, it's not one that's going to show any big differences or any differences at all amongst the top 10. I think they're probably all going to come in with the same group. Duque just about to be caught by Bonifant. Is that just behind him?
Yeah, I think Bonifont's fading, actually. Bonifont's had a quick look up and a look back. But, yeah, still they continue to ply their trade here. Oh, and he's gone. He's left him. Well, he tested him. And now, as he the killer blow, this is going to be a lone run. And will it be Navadauskas that's talking to Daniel Lloyd at the end today? Well, he did it last year. Can he do it once more? Out front, he tested Oss, who sat up just a little bit to have a drink. And with 5 to go, Navadauskas has decided that he's going to try and grasp this one all for himself.
He has, yeah, and he looks like he's completely cracked the Italian rider Daniel Oss of Team BMC. Big gap, and I said before, this guy really is incredible. The more he starts to get his own opportunities, the more we're going to see of him like this on our screens, because he's got a massive future ahead of him in all kinds of different races. 4.7 to go, not completely over yet, but when you look at the gap of 2 minutes and 50 seconds to Leonardo Duque, it's a hard man to write Navadauskas off for this stage win.
Wow. Yes, not that far away from Sky and Bradley Wiggins. We've seen Cadell Evans as well, just bouncing nicely amongst the BMC boys. They were hoping that Daniel Oss might get the win today. All bar 3 teams with a player in the escape today. And it looks like the man who with the biggest hand is Navadauskas. And he's coming towards the final few ramps. It does get easier towards the end as well, Dan.
Yeah, it does kick up in the last K.5, which he's just about to come to now, but he's not hanging about, is he?
No.
You get the impression of the speed, actually, with when you see it from the side view like that.
1,300 metres is the marker. Well, Navadauskas has done a great job here, and I think that this is going to be brought home for victory. The crowd's starting to show themselves, as you can see, and this will spur him on.
Well, indeed, I'm so happy for Raymond. I don't want to be biased, but he's a good friend of mine. He's a thoroughly nice bloke, as we've already mentioned.
Well, you're allowed to hug him then today. Yes, we'll see.
As long as he's cleaned himself up first.
So, Raimonas Navadauskas approaches the end game of the day, and what a day it will be. We knew it was going to be an escape. Well, we suspected as much, and well, predictions came to the fore. There are the main pack, and they'll sail this one in. Raimonas Navadauskas, 1 hour 23 minutes down overall at the start of today. Nobody is going to deny this man the victory now, and he just has to pace himself home, and that's precisely what he's doing. Navadauskas, big question, where will Pirazzi finish today as well? Picking up more points. There is Daniel Oss of BMC. Quite a struggle. and it must be heartbreaking as well to know that you came so close. And that is Jackson Rodriguez just trailing on out of the bunch here.
I think it's the grief from Lotto. Not exactly sure what he's trying to achieve here, but
where did he come from? The grief.
Well, he tapped out of the peloton.
There we are. Yes, well, goodness only knows why we're picking up on him. This is the end game today after 4 hours and 22 minutes. Finally, some respite. Well, we knew that, or suspected that this was going to be an escape, and a big smile on the face of Daniel Lloyd as well today. His friend and former colleague Navadauskas coming across the line, heading for that right now. Well, Daniel will head off and have a chat with our winner. .400 meters to go, and Raimonas Navadauskas is coming to the line. It's been a long day in the saddle. We've had so many tough stages. This was always going to be a little bit of a transition, built that way. Big climb in the middle of the day. 20 riders went for it. The winner always likely to come from that group, and now we know his name. The crowd lighting up. He blesses himself, and bless him for going for it today. Raimonas Navadauskas of Lithuania is coming for a stage win, and a nicer guy you'd be hard pushed to find. He did it last year, and finally being allowed off the leash, he has done it again this time. He's taken it. Start the clock. They will count back, and it will be that metronome, a punishing beat for Daniel Oss. Shame for him, but glory for Garmin and Navadauskas. Stage wins their target now, since the challenge of Ryder Ejdal is now all but snuffed out for retaining the title, and the main pack coming through as well. It's a coming together of the chasers, but Daniel Oss shakes his head, rolls with it. The best of the rest today. He would have loved the stage win, but look at the gap by the line. It shows you what Navadauskas managed to deliver. Could well be a minute here. That's remarkable. And then we'll look back to see where Pirazzi finishes today, to see whether he can pick up any points. Oh, and he takes the applause here, Daniel Oss, and well earned as well, but he knows he's missed out today. Minute 7 seconds it is, the gap for him, as the clock rolls on. And we look down the road to see who else has come to the fore. Where will Pirazzi finish? Don't forget there's mountain points up for grabs, and he was clearly going for it. Danilo De Luca also part of the escape, don't forget, as our winner of today's stage is guided towards familiar face of Daniel Lloyd, who's waiting with microphone. I think he's just caught sight of him, and the thumbs up. Oh, that's class! Pirazzi has hit out, and he is going for these mountain points. Checks behind him and sees Danilo De Luca now. It really should have been these two if you read the script, I suppose. Well, they've clearly caught Patrick Grash, who animated the stage today. Past the 450 marker, the clock's still rolling. Well, this will be a good result for Pirazzi. De Luca also being met with cheers. Well, it may well be 2 minutes or so down, but some more vital points in Pirazzi's drive for the King of the Mountains jersey. De Luca just fighting to stay away, may well get eaten up in the last couple of 100 meters, almost making a habit of that. But with 200 to go, Pirazzi zips up the King of the Mountains jersey and takes the applause here. You can't deny him. Good gutsy performance by him. second over the mountain behind Rodriguez of Androni on the big climb of the day, but this also categorised for that competition. And De Luca, well, we said he may well get caught late on, but didn't think it would be quite that late. Sky, represented by Puccio in the escape, come across the line. Well, what a day. The remainder of the escape group will make up these numbers, and then it's going to have to be a good wait, probably another 2 to 3 minutes before we see the pack come across the line, and I suspect they'll roll over together. There is Luca Paolini crossing the line, and those other brave souls who are out in the escape today, including Kirkelaire and Jackson Rodriguez, I beg your pardon, Guillaume Bonifond from AG2 à la Mondiale. So the clock still spins on. We're just about to hit the 4-minute mark, and the road will be, well, quite empty for some time, I suspect. This is Insausti, who's also thinking about the young riders' jersey. Well, we wait for the main bunch to come as the stragglers from the escape group happen, and I think Daniel Lloyd has got a stage winner with him. Well, we're going to wait to speak to our winner, Navadauskas. We are just going to let the main bunch come in. There is a gruppetto, and I'm going to tell you, it include Ryder Hejjedal. They passed on the notice that Navadauskas was likely to win the stage, and they were so pleased about it. It was lovely to see. So still plenty of racing for Garmin Sharp, with stage wins to pick up. 4 hours 23 and the rest 23:14 today, and there's the deficit of those who are chasing on. We're about to see the main pack. I don't think they're going to race for, certainly amongst the main contenders here, to put some space, are they? Well, yes they are, is the answer. And it's about bragging rights, one suspects. The Italian champion is amongst them, Elizzotti, but really I think they'll all manage to get the same time as each other, and by the commentary position they speed. There is some little gaps opening up, but well, Nibali, and there is the pink jersey, and Bradley Wiggins and Cadell Evans all together. So time then for us to indeed speak to today's stage winner. Oh, we're still waiting. There is pink jersey. Did a great job today. Here's your stage results. Navadauskas finishing 1 minute and 8 seconds clear than the pack, showing that Garmin Sharp have got some great firepower, and the young man doing a job. Pirazzi as well, brave by him to spring out of the escapees ahead of Puccio, and Paul Martin's making up the top 5, the Blanco rider. Danilo De Luca just eaten up towards the very end, wanted a good finishing position. It was only 6th place for him. Martinez, Powles, Petrov and Jackson Rodriguez, who took most of the King of the Mountains points in the big lump in the middle of today. Here's our winner.
Great pleasure to be joined by stage winner Reimunas Navadauskas. Change of plan for the team today. It couldn't really have gone any better.
Yeah, you know, like from yesterday our plans has changed because rider had yesterday bad day and what we could do, you know, so from today we started racing like a bit different, you know, like trying to be more effective, like all team trying to get in a breakaway. So today's plan was to get in a breakaway and stay till the end and try to win.
Looked like it was hard to get into the breakaway, 80 kilometres of attacking at the start.
Yeah, you know, it was descent, backwind, excuse me, and it was quite difficult, you know, to make a gap because you could feel each one's, you know, wheel behind, and it was not easy to get a break. And then before climb and road became not descent, bit uphill, and then race start change, some side wind, and then peloton just splitting up. So there was 19 guys in the front, and we tried to do our best,
And finally, when you were away with Daniel Oss, who's also a fantastically strong rider, what did you think that your chances were coming in towards the finish?
Well, Oss helped a lot. Like, he was really efficient. Like, he really helped me a lot, and like we was trying to help each other, and we was not like, messing with each other. We just was working to full gas, and I think at the end I just had better legs, and that's it. I think he's really good sprinter. He's good the short distance, and really strong guy. Because every time when he passed in the front, and to sit on his wheel was not so easy. But I think just long climb, I had a little bit advanced, and I made it. So.
Okay, well done. We're all very happy for you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to an extraordinarily wet Treviso. The finish line today after 134 kilometres of racing from Longarone. It is raining. It's almost biblical. So say your prayers for the quick men today, because it will be a fast finish, provided we all get here safely. Let's hope so. Well, it's another kind of spray that they're going to be dealing with today. It is grizzly. 12th stage of this year's Giro, and this is the route they're taking. Treviso, the three views. Well, we have a lap around town as well to be dealt with, so at least they'll get a preview of the finish line. It is going to be one for the quick men, we hope. Let's hope they stay safe on what is a very, very wet road today. A couple of lumps as they head downhill towards Treviso, and as you can see, pan flat, but there are some nasty switchbacks to be dealt with on the final lap. Sort of a squared off horseshoe, if you like, that they're dealing with. Treviso, it means three views, and people have lived here since Roman times. Well, the Pinarello Bike Company is also here. And a couple of teams today will be riding upon their machines, so expect Sky and Movistar, who have that equipment, to be riding hard. It is a lovely part of the world, but as you can see, it is blessed with more than enough water. So a gorgeous cultural refuge, and indeed you may well be darting inside one of the museums if you happen to be close to the finish today, because it is raining. Not that far from Venice, and a number of people taking the trip today, although I imagine it might be approaching flooding the way things are going. It is raining, temperatures around about 18 Celsius, humidity 94, kind of tells you that, well, it's not going to do anything other than rain today. Everyone's seeking shelter, and yes, we're just hoping that over the next few days at least we get some respite, but the forecast is not good. So, Longarone. Yes, the dam, and indeed the dam that suffered due to a landslip, and down that valley sped the water all those years ago and took the original town away with it. It's left a huge gaping mass, as you can see in the valley bottom, nobody wanting to live down there again, and you can understand why. Well, a chapel to the Great Wave is here, and you can understand why they built a dam here in the first place. Very, very wet. Well, I can tell you that this morning the riders came for their sign-on, everyone in wet weather gear, and yes, the start in fact delayed, and indeed the neutral zone held up more than a little bit by a bus that had lost control on the wet surface and slewed across. So yes, everyone thinking about the end game though. Matt Goss surely is going to be a feature. Well, he will be if he gets close. Cadell Evans there in the red points leaders jersey over by the barrier, and everyone with a brolly save for our contestants. Off they go, the riders heading off. Mandy Breschel, non-starter today. and everyone, it seems, more than a little wrapped up. So an extended neutral zone because of traffic incidents, as we've said. In fact, they've only been racing for around about 10 minutes. So once they were flagged off, that red flag zone really was extended. The riders just desperate to put some heat into their legs and get up to a proper speed. So they were spinning away. Most of our pictures today will be ground level shots, incidentally, because the helicopters can't fly as the tempest blows above us, and indeed visibility is not good enough. So you'll get close to the action today throughout this broadcast as we head to Treviso, and indeed the lumps and bumps along the way. There will be some downhill sections incidentally to be contended with, and yes, well, we just wish everyone the very best for today. It's a grisly day. It's not a day that you'd go and choose to take the bike out of the garage and give it a go, but giving it a go is exactly what they were doing right at the beginning. In fact, it took a little while before we actually got ourselves an escape. Battling for early positions, and indeed nobody really wanted to take the head. I imagine just trying to rest up the eyes. I think some of the specialist sprays that are available will have been used by a number of these riders if they are wearing what look like ski goggles amongst some of them. But yeah, the choice of whether to wear them or not is individual, as you can see, and if you're not wearing them, then you generally tend to get spray kicked up by a rider in front of you, so don't really want to linger too long at the back. So a miserable day then, but one that may well prove to be rather exciting. We'll see. Fellini, De Backer, Belkov and Lamertink finally making this stick. I think it was Lamertink that actually went off and was joined by that trio after some very, very early skirmishes had failed. So we have 4 riders up the road. They've got a gap of around about 50 seconds according to our last time check. We'll be getting another live one for you in a moment, and we have a hopeful Daniel Lloyd.
Yeah, Marco Mercato waited until the first climb of the day before launching his attack from the peloton, but you're right, you said they had 50 seconds at the time, so a big chase on for him. He's currently at 30 seconds from that quartet that we've got out in front. Good climber Mercato on his day, so he might well make it across before we get to the top of this one. And at the top we've got the television intermediate sprint, so that comes at 16.9 kilometres. I actually haven't worked out how many kilometres to go that is.
Well, working our way through a whole raft of tissue papers today will be the motorcycles, especially those that are at the back of the peloton. It's a thankless task to be facing forward, especially when you've got the amount of rain falling and the spray kicked up. Much happier place if you happen to be a cameraman at the nose, as you can see, looking back. Less squeezy work. So today it's about this long 134 kilometres. It may well be amongst the smallest of the stages that we're dealing with, but to be honest, it's going to feel like one of the longest in these conditions. Fellini is also there as well from Andrioni Giacottoli, Venezuela. Might be that they fancy it today. Gavazzi, don't forget, is still very much involved. It was he that had a skirmish with Robbie Hunter as this race goes on, and yeah, just stretching their legs a little bit, and that's why.
Yeah, Belkov picking up maximum points at the intermediate sprint. Let's not forget he won a stage into Florence the day before the rest day, so last Sunday, and took a few points in that classification then as well. So I think today could be one of the days where we get to go through all these classifications and who's winning what.
I think we probably will. Dan's going to pick up his paper as we speak. So a day about suffering and suffrage. So who are you going to vote for? That is the big question. 117 kilometres, just less than that now, and the break. Well, the countback's going on, as you can see, so you can do your own time checks through that first intermediate sprint that we've got today. Gavazzi had a near punch-up with Robbie Hunter the day that I think it was Degenkolb won. Was it earlier than that? So has John Degenkolb after the rest day. And so we're thinning out. Lee Howard as well, one of the quick men from Orica Green Edge, so he will not be last man for Matt Goss, and they've only got one final option then. Luke Derbish, Brett Lancaster, Jens Maurice and Sven Tuft, all quick men. They could well do a job for Matty Goss today, and the man from Taz could come to the fore. I expect him to be there. Whether he'll beat Mark Cavendish today, well, we will find out in 114.4 kilometres time. It's because of the conditions, it is a tough one to call, and because of the very, very nasty turns that we've got at the end. I described it at the top of the show, Daniel, as being a little bit like a squared off horseshoe. That kind of describes the double turns that they've got to make at the top and tail of what is a testing circuit.
Yeah, it does. Let's get on to that in a second. Mikato's made it up to this front four, so we've got 5 in the break now. 2 from Vacan Soleil, 1 Katusha, 1 Argos Shimano, and 1 from... I've forgotten what the other one is.
I'll tell you right now. We've got Katusha with Belkov. We've got Fellini from Androni.
Androni, that's it.
Yeah, from Androni Giocattoli with my best mate, Gianni Savini. Team Argo Shimano with Debecca. We've got Makato and Lamatink now all together. So good effort by Makato, and well done to Lamatink for marshalling that properly. So immediately off the nose goes Belkov, who's happiest on the descent here, it seems. I'll tell you something, Russians seem to be absolutely spot on when it comes to going downhill in grizzly conditions.
Yeah, I had conflicting reports the other day. I asked my followers on Twitter which tyres Katusha used, because we saw Belkov absolutely flying down the descent on stage 9 into Florence, which he won, and it was thanks to that he won the stage, because without it he wouldn't have had a chance of keeping that gap ahead of Betancourt, who came second. So conflicting reports, one saying that it was Mavic tyres, one was Continental. I tend to think that they're probably on Continental, given the speed he goes downhill. They are deemed in the bunch and within the pro peloton to be the grippiest, both in the dry and in the wet. We can see him putting some gaps into this group again already down this descent.
Well, just look at him go as well. Others having to pedal on to try and stay close to his wake, and he punches a big hole in the air as well, so if you can get close to him and you're prepared to hang on, yeah, he's a good man to follow. But yes, he's also slightly nuts, which is great. Checks over his shoulder there, and was surprised to see that he had a co-rider, a co-surfer, I think it's fair to say. Minute 31 now, after 112.4 with 112.4 kilometres to go, as that clicks down. So just over a minute and a half, and that may well stick for some time, but it is going to be a sprinter's day today, that's for sure. Oh, the motorcycle just getting it a little bit squirrely as well. Yes, getting slightly out of shape.
Yeah, going on to the last circuit of the day. It is a couple of technical moments, but they will get to see it more than once, because they come in and do 1 full lap, so they will see the finish line around about 7 kilometres.
Well, I've just been handed a note, and it doesn't bode well for a sprint finish down. I'm hearing that they're going to neutralise the last 3 kilometres, so the time before then is going to count. I mean,
yeah, what happens is they'll have a line, a kind of an imaginary line at 3 kilometres for the GC riders, and if they're all in the same group, then that's the time they get given. They're then able to sit up, and the sprinters will fight it out for the victory on the stage. It means that there's less chances of crashing. There's less GC riders and teams getting in the way and possibly causing crashes in the first place, because everybody will be very nervous indeed. So once we get to 3Ks to go, well, that's the first line for the majority of the riders, and then we'll have the sprint lead-outs and the sprinters still going for the victory at the end of the stage.
Well, thank you for that. My translation was slightly dodgy then. But yes, so there we are. It will be the GC boys that will hit that. It's the 3K rule applies for fallers, but they're going to assume that there's going to be some kind of issues. And so just to keep everyone safe, they'll ride into that zone, and then the sprinters will do their stuff. So it's still on for Mark Cavendish then.
It is, yeah. We're still going to see a big battle at the end.
Thank goodness we've got Dan Lloyd here. 110.8 kilometres to go then, as they come down and through some very, very grisly conditions. So just once more for you, they've neutralised the final 3 kilometres. It's what happens when we have a crash on a normal stage, but because it's dangerous today, they're going to assume that. So everyone will get the same finish time, provided you've not too far back. as the sprinters who will contest the finish today. So there won't be a lot of crowding going on, and there won't be any racing for the line by the GC contenders to put any space between themselves, or between themselves and their riders, their rivals, I should say. 110 points. Now nearly 3 minutes down.
Yeah, they're just gradually letting the gap go up slightly to this 5-man breakaway. At least it was 5 minutes. Can't see them all, but Serge Powers from Omega Pharma Quickstep just talking. Oh, there's the 5th man. Just talking to the Cannondale rider about how much work he's going to do on the front. Cavendish's teams, whoever it is, always normally assume that they're going to be left to their own devices in terms of bringing the breakaway back. So any help that they do get is very much appreciated. So they will talk to some of the other teams in terms of Cannondale, in terms of probably France de Jeu as well, to try and get some help. And as we say that, France de Jeu are on the front already. So looks like 3 teams willing to do the chase to bring this break back and leave it as a bunch sprint finish towards the end. There's little Pozzoviva. Been going well, because he had a crash, didn't he, at the Giro del Trentino just a couple of weeks before this race.
He did. It wasn't nice either.
No.
And he's bouncing like a little terrier at the moment. Bless him. 10th in the standings, 4 minutes and 17. Oh, that's all of them. My goodness, one escapes and just keeps it upright. And my goodness, Argos Shimano's De Backer gets through and he'll sail off. It's to no advantage. But that must have hurt. At least they went down what looks like clean. That motorcycle just getting out of the way. Let's have a look at it again. Here we go right now, and it's a whole series of them. Well, no wonder they've neutralised the last 3 kilometres for the pack. Bang goes down Belkov, dab on the brakes and following suit. Fellini as well, and oh my goodness, De Backer did very well to scoop by that, and he waits up. Straight comes by is Fellini. He'll wait up as well. You've got one coping strategy on a day such as today. He's going on. He said, come on to De Backer. Oh no, he's getting back on. They really did wait up. My goodness. Well, you see how the day can brutalise you. And, well, that will have filtered through news-wise to those further back. And I don't think that's going to do some of them very good. Too much good mentally, at least on the descents here. I've got to say that unfortunately, Bradley Wiggins has not been the best of descenders in the wet. His confidence absolutely sheeting away with the water when he went down earlier in this race on a very wet descent. And he's got to deal with another one here.
Yeah, just trying to decide what's happening towards the front, whether these 3, I presume these 3 are out in front. I don't seem to be waiting for the other 2 who also crashed. Is that so Belkov's missing? Who else is missing? One of the other. It's
Belkov.
The other backhand Soleil rider, isn't it?
I think possibly. Mercato's here, De Backer and Fellini. My goodness. Well, let's just put. Here we are again. This is it. Yeah, exactly. And immediately just behind him, Fellini did the same. Bang! Down he goes. Fellini dabbed his brakes, and it was a brake issue. The only man who got through was De Backer, who didn't hit the brakes but counterbalanced himself with his leg.
He did very well with De Backer, I have to say. Oh, Belkov's just coming back on, so 4 out of the 5 back together. Not sure where Lamatink's gone to.
Drama.
This is the one. They've all been told, presumably.
Yeah, take your time, fellas. Drama with 100 kilometres to go, and 3 minutes and 7 is the gap, and they really have sat up here. Scarponi going for a comfort break, or is he going for a winter warmer? Maybe a bit of both. Goodness me. Right, catch your breath and gird your loins. Here we go. Everybody keep it sensible. One dab on the brakes and you've had it. Incidentally, the last 3 kilometres today have been neutralised, so we will have the sprinters going for it, but everyone will be given the same time at the finish, so it'll be a stage win up, but no change in the classification for those who finish very close in on that. Smacking the handlebars. In fact, he'd done precisely the same in Napoli. So, will he manage it this time? 5 men are hoping not. They've been part of the escape for much of today, and they're still there with 9.6 to go. And what's more, they're holding station around about 37 seconds at the moment. They're sharing duties well, best man through the corners seems to be going Bert de Backer, but he's not an out-and-out sprinter, and they've got an awful lot of them behind them. Bradley Wiggins' group, 3 minutes and 5 down. This is a disaster for Wiggins, and indeed for his teammates who are alongside him, and it looks like he's racked with his teammates right now. 34 seconds it is. The pink jersey group, Nibali, Cadel Evans is in here as well, safe. The last 3Ks, don't forget, are neutralised today, which means those who finish within that 3K, once the winner is declared of the day's stage, they'll all get the same time. So, if you're off the back of that, it could be an absolute nightmare. Fellini, De Backer, Lamatink, Belkov and Mercato in the escape. We think it's going to come down to a sprint finish, but these guys are still there, and as the camera looks back, you just see the motorcycle nudging into view, the security bike that's heading these, and here are those turns, Dan.
Yeah, this is the double left, which comes inside the last 2 kilometres. When they come around this circuit for the next time, they've got a slightly longer right-hand bend just coming up, but it does pinch down there as well. But that's not going to concern them too much, because they're so strung out from the speed that they've had to ride to try and bring this breakaway back. In fact, the breakaway on the home straight now.
32 seconds with 8.4 to go, which tells you they're approaching the finish line. There we are. Now that's the view that we're going to get as they come to the line, and the motorcycles are just speeding away because the pace is still very, very high. It's down to 30 seconds now, the chasers, and they've just come into view as this circuit is entered into, and indeed the bell will ring. Well, it'd be heartbreak for these guys, and I think they know their card is marked. 30 seconds, but they are within sight of the chasers, so that gap is starting to come down, timed beautifully. Omega Pharma done a lot of work here, but Cannondale joining the fun, along with Orica Greenedge now, and Bradley Wiggins even further behind, 3 minutes and 8 now, unfortunately.
Pharma quick step again. The others, EMC, well, they've lost all of their riders.
Ventoso as well, looking very lively, sitting up very, very high, taking a lot of vision, wants to know where the escapees are. The answer is they're up the road. 4.4 to go, 18 seconds back to the pink jersey group, and that's being led at the moment by Omega Pharma and courtesy of Mark Cavendish, but he has a rack of talent absolutely on his wheel at the moment because there's so few options to go through the corners. 16 seconds with 4.2 to go.
Yeah, 1.2 kilometres until we get the cut-off for the GC riders, and then they're going to leave it all to the sprinters teams to fight it out. But are they going to catch these riders? That's the big question. Gaps starting to appear, but hats off to these 5 riders. What a ride they've done today, whether they get caught or not.
I think they're slewing across the road here, knowing that it's done. They're checking over the shoulder. There's so many look-backs going on at the moment. That is not a mind down the road. That's a mind behind you. And the chats are going on now, and the shakes of the head as well. Have you got the legs to do something and spring off? Between the two teammates, that conversation, Mercato and Lamatink. And look at this behind. Here it is, the charge is going on right now, and it's still Omega Pharma quick-step for Mark Cavendish, but look who's just behind him. Kenny De Haas is there, Adam Hansen too, I've got to tell you, for Lotto Belisol. Buani's there, Modolo's also there, Gavazzi's also there, Viviani also in the frame, and so's Matt Goss. Oh my goodness, 13 seconds now and 3.4 to go. We guessed it might be around that they were caught, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. Heartbreak for those guys, but look at the options these fellas have got through the corner. Still Omega Pharma work, but it's starting to break down for them, and Mark Cavendish might be left solo here.
Well, he's still got 3 riders in front, and the guy in the front, we've also got Stegmans, who's his last lead-out man. Lotto Belisol have just joined up as well. Here's one of those left-hand corners coming in towards the finish, but 3 or 4 riders, no one from France Dejeur. They want to try and win this stage with Nasser Buani. They're not willing to help the chase at all, and let's hope that they're in with a chance of taking that stage win in the first place.
Well, Buani is here, some big men as well, with some broad shoulders. They're going to have to use all of their power, and in fact they're just tracking the motorcycle. Still 2.8, still 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think they are just about going to do it, but there's not many people left for that final lead out. That's what really increases the speed normally over the last kilometre, is when you've got 4 or 5 men giving 200 metres each at maximum speed. Wow, they must be so desperate at the front now. They're giving their absolute all to try and keep that last
9 seconds, but the bunch really starting to bear down on them now.
Mark Cavendish is there. He's got Viviani absolutely on his tail. Modolo's also right there for Bardiani Valvoli. And look at this arrow straight run they've got. They've still got a little bit of technicality to deal with, though, Dan.
Yeah, they've got that double left-hand corner within the last 2 kilometres. And the right-hander comes just over a kilometre before the finish.
Here we go, then. It's time to get this sorted out. 2.2 to go. This is that little shimmy that we were talking about. Well, they ride on. They're going to see that marker before you know it. I'm not quite sure the graphic's correct at the moment.
Yeah, the motorbike's going to go around them now, I expect, because the bunch have just taken that right-hand corner as well. Must be a matter of 5 seconds between them, but they can't afford to stall.
Oh, they can't.
Bardiani towards the front.
And here is that moment. Modolo there in that sort of lime green without the stripe. The man with the stripe is Viviani, staying very close to Mark Cavendish. They're all getting mixed up at the moment. Will they get tangled up? 1.8 to go, and still the escapees are up here.
Yeah, this is the double left. Look how close it is.
Oh my goodness.
I think they're going to get overtaken in that final straight.
I think they might do. They must still believe the escapees, and they've suddenly lit it up. They've gone for it, and they've got to. Oh my goodness. Look at this. 5 escapees bidding for the line, and there's the counters. 1,400 metres to go, and the chase is on behind them. But will they catch them? Will these guys make it? DeBacker just swapping places here momentarily. Oh, the line's starting to approach. I think it's going to be heartbreak. This is that little shimmy they've got to deal with. There's more to come as well, Dan.
Yeah, I've just counted them through. About 6 seconds is the gap. They've got this right-hander to go, and then they're in the final straight. These riders at the front just about to come under the Flamme Rouge. That's 1,100 going now. Oh, this is going to be very, very close.
I think they might just make this. They've got to stop looking back and go for it. And Belkov tries to pick up the pace, but I think he might well be bumped here. Is it Lamatic nearest to him? And suddenly DeBacker also joins the frame in 3rd place. 900 metres to go, and still they haven't hit the afterburners. Mark Cavendish is there as well. You can see his black helmet. He's just waiting, but is he waiting too long? Oh, the escapees split across the road, and Steegmans picks it up. He's trying to pace his man into position right now. Centenary victory for Mark Cavendish is absolutely on the line at the moment, and I don't know whether they've left it too late. Oh, they're trying to pick up, but they can't. They know they're going to get mobbed here, and Steegmans still waits. There is Steegmans picking it up right now. He's a very, very big man, don't forget. Gabazzi's there, so is Belletti. Oh, and suddenly coming out of nowhere, Faraga Shimano. And the court is in that's going to hit the front. Cavendish holds on, holds back. Modolo with him, and he's gone for it now. Bahali's there as well, out by the barriers. The French champion's there. Mark Cavendish has got to take this all from a long way. And you've got to be a very, very, very good sprinter to beat Mark Cavendish. He nails his centenary here. What about that? Unbelievable stuff. Phenomenal riding. How late must a man leave it? And just look at the level of exhaustion and the relief. Amazing. Give the man some space. Goodness gracious me. I'm not even sure if he knows. What about that? A more dramatic finish you'd be hard pushed to find. He's going to take time to gather himself, and the clock ticks back. They're down in the pink. You see the clock ticking on. For whom it does. And the name's Bradley Wiggins. We're waiting for another Brit here. Goodness gracious me. Mark Cavendish taking it ahead of Buani, the French champion. Yet again he was denied. He went close to the barriers, and it's starting to dawn on Mark Cavendish exactly what he's done. 100 pro wins, getting his centenary, and the rain failing to dampen his enthusiasm. Well, he wants to know where Sky are and how they're going to finish here today, and there is the clock rolling through for you right now. Last 3 kilometres neutralised, don't forget. But it just depends on how far back they were as the winner crossed the line. Were they beyond the 3K? In comes Sky in the mist. And it's the sorry figure of Bradley Wiggins, I'm afraid, who's not well. He's got a pulmonary problem, chest infection essentially. To see what Bradley's time is, but it looks like it may well even be over the 3-minute mark, despite the fact that we're towards the end of the course and his team mustering to bring him in. Wow, what a sprint that was, and Mark Cavendish taking his centenary victory ahead of everybody on the day. Took him a long time to recover. Can Bradley Wiggins possibly recover and reignite this Giro d'Italia? It does not look that way. And so the line beckons. It'll be welcome in some ways, but the clock will not. And this, the final moments. Well, Stigmans was the last man. There's the remnants of the escape on the right-hand side of your screen. Stigmans in the black jersey here, his raincoat. And there, Mark Cavendish on his coattails. Madola was giving it a very, very good go at this point. And there, the French champion with the red rear, going for it, wearing the tricolour, elbows to the fore. Oh, that was a bit nasty at the line, and Madola holds his hands up as if in appeal, but I've got to tell you, that was one heck of a finish by Mark Cavendish. Cavendish, Boani, Mijek, Nizzolo, Lancaster, the top 5. Gosh, some unfamiliar names then perhaps at the end game, but I've got to say, Mark Cavendish has worked so hard for that centenary win, and you cannot take the victory off him. Phenomenal performance, and let's not forget his 3rd stage win of this Giro d'Italia. Information of how they finished: Mark Cavendish beating Boani, Mijek in 3rd place. Great result for him. Look at who he beat. Roberto Ferrari was in the frame there. Brett Lancaster finishing behind Nizzolo. Belletti, Ferrari, Madola, who got balked at the end, might well have something to say about it. Tamaridis in 9th place ahead of Ventoso.